Yes, everybody, and welcome to High on Homegrown, the cannabis podcast from Percy'sGrowroom.com. I am Macky from the UK, and joining us this week, we have Billy Bonds.
Hello from Cornwall, and it's cold here, icy cold, sort of stabby, icy cold out there. It's not like London stabby, like you've got a watch on. More Glasgow stabby with needles type in your face type cold.
Jesus.
So yeah,
Welcome,
you know when
everybody.
it blows, and even your knuckles get frozen within a couple of seconds of taking the bins out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That type cold. Yeah, not nice.
And it's probably like 0 degrees.
It's
yeah.
Speaking, there's
Five.
Margaret in Canada, fucking like minus fucking 50. What are you saying, Margaret? Yeah, how's weather where you are this week?
Well, the weather is cold and snowy, but I think it was like a delightful -5 degrees Celsius. The snow is falling gently.
A delightful
for
minus fucking
touring around. It
5.
was really
Oh
nice.
my
I'm
gosh.
getting a nice picture off of this.
Yeah, right? It's not all
Yeah.
bad. It's not all
No,
bad.
it's
I mean, ask
beautiful.
me in 6 weeks and I'll tell you something different, but
Yeah.
you know,
Just got to look on the bright side, Amy. Yeah.
that's all you can do.
Yeah. What are you saying, John? You got some crazy temperatures your way as well, right?
Yeah, -14 for all you Celsius people, but it's sunny, baby. Sunny in Minnesota today, so I'm good to go.
Yeah, so I don't know, Billy. You see how us guys in the UK we complain about cold, and then guys from the USA and Canada come on and be like, "What the fuck are you talking about with your Gulf Stream and shit?"
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's cold out there, everybody. It's cold, but damn, different levels of cold it seems. But yeah, welcome everybody. Welcome. We got John, Margaret, Billy. Everybody had an intro there. Yeah, see. So here we are for the cannabis news and events, as we do every Sunday, and we also have the Grow Guides today. For the Grow Guides, we're talking about hydroponics. We spoke about soil last week and different types of soil and things like that. So we want to be discussing hydroponic mediums this week and what hydroponic is, different methods of hydroponics. But we'll skip out stuff like cocoa and things like that. We'll do a specific episode on cocoa. But yeah, we'll talk more about that later on. But before we move on to the news, we'll quickly tell you what news stories we have got coming up this week. Got some interesting ones, as we do. We have inside secret £10 million medical cannabis factory. Not a complex or sophisticated cannabis factory, because this is a legal one that's guarded by ex-soldiers. That's right, these people are allowed to do it. But we won't go rant mode just yet. We'll wait until we cover the article over there. We have Washington cannabis lab raid, which was it was shut down because they were making shatter with BHO, and we covered an article, must have been like a month, maybe 2 months ago, where a house blew up, and we were speculating what the cause of that explosion could have been. And yeah, one of those labs that might have been the cause of that explosion was shut down out of safety fears or something. We'll find out when we get to the news article there. Have you heard this one? Marijuana addiction increases risk of premature death. You know what I'm saying? God damn. Hit the like button if you think that's bullshit. International experts gather to shape future of cannabis legislation at the inaugural Global Cannabis Regulatory Summit. Yeah, so some interesting news going on there, where loads of professionals allegedly get together and discuss legalizing cannabis, allegedly. I think a few envelopes will get passed around on that day. Not allegedly. Medical marijuana is more effective than prescription medications for treating chronic pain, study finds. So a good study for a change. Usually we see these studies and it's like, cannabis causes death, cannabis causes psychosis, and they show us all these fucking statistics. So it's good to see one on the opposite side of the coin today. So yeah, they're the news articles that we've got coming up. Yeah, so let's chill for a few minutes and hit some delicious cannabis. What you got today, Billy?
I've got some lemon drizzle today.
Okay.
Both hash and weed, so I'm drizzled in lemon today.
Beautiful, beautiful. Sounds nice. What you got today?
Not bad.
Yeah, what you got, John?
A little bit of Cinderella 99 today.
Oh, classic shit.
It's very tasty. Very tasty. It's got that, like, I don't know, like late 90s good bud flavor and smell to it that I just really dig.
Sounds beautiful. Now, what's Margaret got? Margaret's always got this collection of nice. I've got a drink. I've got myself a cupcake.
No drink today. I do have cookies though, and I do have a little bit of a Jack Hare of a 1-to-1, which is
Oh,
very
nice. Yeah, you hunt that last week as well. You enjoying it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I am a lot. I have some other
I'm
stuff too, but I'm sticking with this for now.
People underestimate those 1-to-1s, man. If you haven't tried them before, everybody, you have to go and try a 1-to-1, a CBD THC balanced ratio for the cannabinoids there. Delicious, and it doesn't smash you like in 5 fucking drawers, so you can really enjoy a joint without getting mash up. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
Yeah.
Were you going to say something there, John?
No. I'm just agreeing with you.
Cool. Yeah, so that's the intro done straight away. Look at that, 5 minutes, proper professional intro there. So yeah, anybody got any interesting stories from this week?
Mm,
Snowstorm.
That's a no.
I've got one, sort of.
that's the
Is it-
same story every week though.
Is it clean?
Yeah.
Is it? You know?
Yeah.
Well, it depends on what your class is clean. It's
Okay.
as clean
Yeah.
as in my socks.
Oh, we better skip it then, bro.
Holy.
Yeah, but what are you saying? You got a story?
Yeah, well, I've had some funding cut. So the sock dancing from the Women's Institute and like the blind old ladies has been cancelled because of USAID, mate. So
Oh, Jesus. I was wondering where he's going with this. It's like, what?
I had a feeling it was coming, man.
Oh,
I
God.
totally had a feeling it was coming. I was expecting you to throw something in like that on the BBC News.
No,
thing you got.
I don't know, man. It seems controversial, that topic does. Yeah, as
Yeah.
if, you
funding
know,
all sorts of weird shit. So I thought I'd
You
put
know-
in like an application. So it's been turned down.
oh, boo. Yeah, you should have applied for
Yeah.
it a couple of years ago, mate. Would have been well away.
Oh no,
Right.
You know?
the Granny Smith Institute will be very disappointed.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Maybe next year. See
Yeah,
what happens. Yeah, it's been an interesting news week for sure. But,
Yeah.
there was a good guest on Rogan the other day talking about the Egyptian pyramids and things like that. Yeah, I like that kind of the topic about the pyramids and how they were built and things like that. I like that kind of shit. Good episode.
they were built by other people, not the Egyptians. You mean?
Possibly,
Or alien.
aliens, time travelers, giants. It's like
Such
they
as a
want
previous civilization.
maybe you never know. You never know.
Potentially.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I just wanted to give me the goddamn answer so I know.
Yeah, any of you guys been
It's
to
been
the
going on my
pyramids?
whole life.
Yeah.
How the hell did they get built? You know?
Yeah, nobody really knows for sure.
Yeah. Anybody been
I've never
to
been
Cairo?
there.
You
Yeah.
seen? No, I haven't either.
No, my daughter went last year though.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Apparently,
yeah, it looked really awesome actually.
apparently they're like massive, and you can't even comprehend it unless you go there and actually see them. Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, being like a actually medical cannabis user, it restricts you where you can go places, and
Yeah.
you
Mhm.
can't really go places like that because obviously the cannabis laws are a little bit dim.
Yeah. It was always a problem for me with traveling, when I was a fiend and I just smoked so much fucking cannabis. It was all like, no, I can't go on holiday somewhere without weed, but now I can. And now I'll be completely fine with that.
You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't mind. I'll have some when I get back.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
Yeah, when you need it for pain relief, it's a bit different because
Yeah, very true. Very true.
you
When
can't
it's
walk
medicinal.
without it. So yeah, that's the issue. When
Yeah.
I go like to Spain and that, I can walk around up and down the beaches and I'm fine because I've got pain relief. But if I didn't have it, then I wouldn't be able to walk about. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
But anyway, random tangent there. Stuff about Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I find that Mr. Beast as well. It's always good to mention Mr. Beast in a YouTube video because YouTube are like, "Did you say Mr. Beast?" But yeah, watching Mr. Beast, his video came out yesterday or the day before, and he was over looking at the pyramids as well. Cool video. But, yeah.
Nice.
Random tangent there at the start of the show.
Mhm.
Everybody comment Egypt in the chat. But yeah, with that then everything's all wrapped up pretty quick. Well, I think we should just move on to the news. Are we ready for that?
Getting after it.
I think so. Let's do this.
Let's go.
Okay, I think we should just get stuck in with the fucking dickheads straight away. get it out the way here, right?
Yep.
Inside secret £10 million medical cannabis factory guarded by ex-soldiers. Doesn't that sound cool? Isn't it cool? No, it's fucking not. I'm not going to go ranty just yet. These amazing photographs provide a glimpse inside a unique 110 million Great British pound sterling cannabis factory in the UK. Now, let me just say, I'm going to begin here, right? Not so unique, because there are other 10 million pound cannabis factories around the UK, but they're illegal because they haven't given the necessary fucking envelope to the necessary person, have
Allegedly.
they? Allegedly, thank you, John. It's always better just drop that in there. Allegedly. The top secret facility, obviously not top secret because it's here in Manchester Evening News, but the top secret facility is heavily protected by razor wire fencing, bulletproof glass windows, more than 150 security cameras, and a highly trained team of ex-military guards. Run by Derbyshire-based Dalgetty, a 30,000 square foot factory produces high-grade cannabinoids for prescription medication. Man,
Bulletproof fucking windows, man. That's going a bit fucking far, that is, isn't it?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Come on. It's
But-
a bit
Well,
over
but
the
is
top.
it though over there? I mean, like, it sounds like
Yeah,
it's pretty
yeah.
nuts over there.
yeah,
but
you need
we're
stab-proof
stabby
windows,
more
mate.
than
You know,
shoot. Yeah, exactly.
not even funny, man. We shouldn't make jokes like that because it's true fucking story. It's tragic.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely fucking terrible. People are going out there. They pay what £50 for a prescription, usually for their cannabis, and it's like, how did it go? How did it get to this? Where they just got this one company that said, yeah, it's okay for you. You go do it. You grow as many plants as you like. There's 30,000 square feet. Go grow as much cannabis as you need to. Here's some bulletproof glass. Because this is what I would be thinking. If they have bulletproof glass, they're not worried about cutting costs and saving money in places, are they? So they've probably been given money from the government. Like, oh, here you go. Go and set up your farm. Go on, off you go. So they're like, oh, yeah, fuck it. Just might as well get some bulletproof glass. You know what I mean? But anyway, I just think it's absolutely ridiculous and hypocritical, man. That
And like, who are they growing it for? Because I thought there was like 5 medical patients in the UK.
Well,
Right.
that's patients on the NHS, but we
Right.
also have people who pay for a private prescription, and I think
Oh,
there
I
must be
see.
like 30,000 of those right now. So they are
Okay.
all able to go and purchase cannabis to use for medical use. And
I see.
but you can still be prosecuted for having it. You have to vape it. You're not allowed to smoke it. There's ridiculous rules in place. But essentially, these guys are able to grow and sell copious amounts of marijuana, Winston. if you know the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Well, it's just hypocritical as fuck. They won't let an individual grow just a few plants for themselves, but this guy here, whoever runs this company, can just grow a shitload of weed, sell it all, and not only not have to worry about the risk of the old bill kicking off the door and taking all your shit and breaking everything, but they have fucking soldiers defending the place. It just
Like, I
baffles
wonder what
me.
the cost of that is, right? Like,
Not cheap.
no, man.
Yeah, and just to think as well, the bulletproof glass. That's not cheap either. It's just ridiculous, man.
Are
Ridiculous.
they
Okay.
armed guards then?
They didn't
Well,
say.
the
I think they would
bulletproof
say that.
glass and soldiers. I know,
well,
but they may
actually-
not say armed guards. But
That's a good point there, Billy. I mean,
Yeah.
they would if you're getting bulletproof glass at some point, you're expecting firearms, and you don't want your security staff to not, don't bring a knife
bring a
to a
knife
gunfight
to a
or
gun.
Right.
Exactly, yeah. Bring a gun to a knife fight because obviously you're in the UK. So
That's right. Anyway,
Mm.
we'll carry on here. Growing of cannabis for medical use was legalized in the UK in 2018. No, it wasn't. Not for me, it wasn't. Not for you in the UK. Listen to this show right now. Not for you. No, it's for these guys. You see how ridiculous this is? Oh my God. So, man. Anyway, the Midlands site is the first in the UK that holds EU GMP certificate to cultivate, manufacture, and sell for distribution. CEO James Leversley said, "My friend Keir Starmer said it's okay for me to grow weed." He didn't say that. "It's taken 4.5 years to actually get to a point where we're fully licensed by the MHRA, which is Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, and the Home Office to cultivate, manufacture, and supply medical cannabis in the UK. Some of the feedback we have received from doctors was that the supply of imported cannabis can be unreliable and with varying quality due to lack of transparency of the supply chain. So that means when the patients are prescribed medical cannabis, they get their repeat prescriptions. Often it's not available or out of stock."
Okay, I have a question. So
Okay.
they're the first ones in the UK to hold this certification?
Allegedly.
Like, does nobody else? I mean, like, so what's the difference between what they have to what
I don't know.
supposedly the other companies are that are growing?
I don't know.
for
There's
medical
been
use?
companies that's been growing weed in the UK for a long time, and even longer than this, than what they're saying here. So I don't know what he means by he's the first. Maybe maybe that was part of the deal. You know, he was talking to his politician government friend allegedly, and was like, "Oh, you're gonna be the first one if you just give me this amount of money. You'll be the first one with the license." He's like, "Oh yeah, I'll be the first one. That's so cool." But there's already 10 people who sold the license too. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know
Well,
how these guys work.
Well, it is they're the first ones to do the whole process in house, as such. If you know what I mean. So other companies
okay.
will just grow the weed and then
Right,
pass it on to
right.
someone else who would then box it
Yeah.
up and then distribute it and all
Okay.
of that. But
Okay.
these are the first company to do the whole lot. They're going to grow and distribute and all of that. So
Yeah, that
it
makes
seems
sense.
they've got
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So that's
Yeah.
about it, really.
So let's
And
carry
for
on.
the
Sorry.
medical market as such in the UK.
And I
Because
don't
most of the-
apologise as well, John. You know, we want to make these things clear. There'll be other people with those questions as well, so it's always good to ask.
Most of the
people.
flowers, most of the flowers in the UK are imported from like Australia, Canada, and
Yep.
various other places. So yeah, not many are sold sort of in the UK, which are grown in the UK. Like Spain's
Right.
more in the market now as well.
Right, so
So,
we'll
yeah.
carry on with this article here. We got,
Okay.
if products have to be imported, it can take 12 to 20 weeks just to get into the UK. The benefits of being located here in the Midlands: as soon as we finish the grow cycle, we harvest and slowly dry our product, then pack it. From that moment, it can be within the patient's hands inside a month. The plants, which are fed around 12 times every day, so they're probably doing a hydroponic thing and just watering the plants every half hour. Is that correct? No, every 2 hours they're watering the plants. Are grown in a series of medical grade laboratories which are constantly air filtered. The team of expert growers are all issued with specially made dark glasses due to powerful LED lighting to cultivate the crop. James added, the lighting has been bespoke made, and we actually create artificial wind in the room to ensure there are no microclimates. So, they've got some big fans. Each plant takes 5 months to grow, over 6 foot in height, and they are ready to be harvested. They are then dried and cured to remove any moisture before they are trimmed by hand and their flowers separated. Head grower Brady Green, who joined the company in 2023, said, "Our crop cycle runs about 5 months in total, about 2 weeks in crop propagation stage, about 2 weeks in veg, and then flowering takes about 7 to 12 weeks depending on variety. From there, it takes another 2 weeks to dry and 2 weeks to cure. A little bit over time to trim. Yeah, it's just blah blah blah. It's important to discuss medical cannabis openly and break the stigma of the plant. Yeah, it is now. You got fucking license, you prick. It's the opposite of evil and dangerous, and hopefully it can provide a lot of assistance for people. Last September, the company secured their second license, giving them permission to sell the product. The company shipped its first batch of 500 prescriptions worth of medical cannabis last month. So I don't know. I mean, it's fucking really difficult because these guys ain't doing anything wrong. If you was in the position which they are in, you would be doing the same thing. You would be growing as much weed as you can, setting up a good business, and sending it out to people who need it. The problem here is fucking government. The government who are being like, you can do it, but no, you can't. There's guys setting up a farm, and though it's illegal, You know, so these £3 million cannabis farms, which you see put on the fucking news sometimes, it's all full of shit. And you know, it's not actually worth that much. They just like to hype up the prices. And it's like, why are these guys not allowed to get a license so they don't have their door kicked off? You know, so they don't hire fucking human slaves. You know, there's when it's properly legalized and regulated the way it should be, you're not going to get, you know, these other crimes that are a result of cannabis growing being illegal the way it is. It's a farce. I think it's massively hypocritical, but that's just the way things go nowadays. You know, rules for thee and not for me and all that shit. And this is exactly it. It just frustrates me to think that this shit is going on. How does it sound for, I mean, Margaret, you being in Canada and it's all legal and shit, this kind of stuff must sound wild to you.
I mean, some of the security stuff doesn't sound that wild, except I don't think companies are required to have armed guards, but they are required to have a lot of like security stuff. I don't know if they have bulletproof windows, but a lot of those big growing facilities have a lot of security shit that they have to like comply with, which is one of the reasons why it's so expensive to actually get a growing license
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. But when you were talking about this story, the thing that stood out to me was just like, how do they vet which companies get these licenses and get access to like an approval process?
Envelope
Yeah.
size.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
That's what I would say as well. It's like
Yeah.
buying a ticket to a raffle, you know?
Like, why this company and not any other companies? Or like, have they opened this process up to other companies? Or I don't know, it brings a lot of questions up. And like you said, why can they grow it and yet you can't grow your own medicine?
Yeah. You know, and when they say that, but it's been legalized to grow for medical use since 2018, it's like, can I do it? You know,
Yeah.
Right.
can normal members of the public do it? No, we can't. So it's not
Yeah.
legal, is it? It's legal if you've got enough money to go and not just enough money, because there's plenty of people with enough money to do so, but they don't have the contacts because you need somebody who's in that circle to be able to push it forward for you. You can't just rock up somewhere and be like, yo, I'll take a license. Here's 100 grand or whatever it is you have to fucking pay. I mean, you
Right.
need to be able to go to the right guy to ensure that's going to go through as well. So it's just all a massive grift, man. It's fucking shocking. Yeah. What do you think, Billy? What are you saying about this one?
Well, it's nice that a UK company are getting involved, but like you say, where's the fucking rest of us getting involved? Like, why can't we do it? Why can't I grow my own in my own house if I want to, without a license for myself? It's like
Yeah.
these can and they make money, so it's just bullshit that we're in this situation. As you say, there's not much else you can do apart from rant and swear, really, to be honest. So
Right.
I should mute my mic before I rant and swear.
What do you think there, John?
I mean, yeah, I mean it's kind of crazy to me, and like Margaret was saying about the security stuff, like there's a lot that has to go into that. Like they're required to do a lot of stuff, and like from what I've looked into, it's not really armed guards necessarily, but you have to have security staff. Bulletproof windows. I think like here in the US, it's more of a if you have windows, they got to be like barred up and stuff so that nobody can break a window and just come in, you know what I mean? So maybe that's why they're doing bulletproof glass instead of that ugly factor, I guess.
And a lot of
But
cameras. There's a
yeah,
lot of
lots and lots and lots of cameras.
Even when I worked in the dispensary, there was a ton of cameras that they had to have the dispensary.
Like every angle that you can possibly think of, they're gonna have a camera for it, man. It's nuts.
Drives you fucking crazy, man. Like, when's our turn? How much longer are we gonna get held back? You know, it's terrible. But yeah, good luck to this company. It's difficult to not sound like a fucking hater, because that's not the case. You know, I want more companies to be doing this shit. I want more companies to be growing as much cannabis as is needed for people who need it for medical use. You know, more access to good cannabis is what people need, but they can't just keep restricting it to one specific company because of, I don't know, maybe it's not even that they got contacts in the government. It might not be bribery. Maybe this guy's just one of the lucky few who has managed to jump through all the hoops. We don't know what's really going on, but we want to see more of it. So it should be made more available for people to get involved in this business if they wanted to. You know, but I don't think that's going to happen because it's all a fucking
I feel
scam.
like that's the thing, right? Like it should be more available to anybody, not just people that have millions and millions of dollars, you know. let smaller people start up and do it. Like I hope one day that everybody can home grow.
Yeah.
And that like I can't remember what it's called. Like you it would be nice to be able to see farmers markets going on, and
Yes,
there's a
that's what I
license,
want.
and maybe Margaret knows what it is. A special license you can make or you can get as a small like producer, right, to
They
sell
have
at
like
farmers
micro
markets.
licenses, I think.
Well, like there's micro business license and stuff, but like what I'm thinking of is like a cottage license. That's what they call it here, a
Oh, right.
cottage license, where you can make, whatever it is,
Like
yogurt or
candles or
jello or anything, right?
yeah.
And it can be food or anything, and you can sell that stuff at like a booth at a show or at a farmer's market or whatever, like legally. Like that would be nice to be able to see, in my opinion. I'd love to go to a
Yeah.
farmer's market where I could walk around and talk to a bunch of
A
people that are
grower?
growing their own
Yeah.
and stuff, man.
Yeah, I would
That'd
love
be
that too.
amazing.
See the jars on display and stuff and be
Yeah,
like, "Ooh, I
shit.
want to smell that one."
We can
Yeah.
dream one
We
day.
sure
One day.
can.
Mm-hmm.
See, Arnie,
no,
congratulations. John said cottaging and booth, and I didn't say a word.
well done. Well done. So let's move on to this. Let's move on to Margaret's one here, because this is another bullshit. We're just gonna get the bullshit out of the way early in the show. All right, everybody. But what's going on here, Margaret, with this risk of death? What the fuck are they talking
Well,
about, man?
it did come from Yahoo News, so take that with a grain of salt. Marijuana
Boy.
addiction increases risk for premature death. A Canadian study
Dun,
found.
dun, dun.
So, people who need emergency care or hospitalization for cannabis use disorder are at an elevated risk of premature death within 5 years, a new Canadian study suggests. The study was published Thursday in JAMA Network Open, which sounds fun, but I think that's just the Journal of American Medicals, or I don't know what it stands for, actually.
Yeah,
Never mind.
we've covered quite a few from these guys recently.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they've been in the articles
Sounds
a lot.
fun, but it's not. Significant increases in regular cannabis use and products strength underscore the importance of recognizing cannabis use disorder as a public health concern. This issue is particularly worrisome in young segments of the population amid growing interest in legalizing marijuana and marketing it commercially, the researchers noted. Cannabis use and the number of people with a cannabis use disorder is rapidly increasing globally, and more people now use cannabis daily than consume alcohol daily in Canada and the United States, the study's lead author, Dr. Daniel Myron, told UPI.
That's a win,
Despite
in my opinion. That's definitely
Yeah,
a win.
me too.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I wonder what do they consider cannabis use disorder, right? Like, are they lumping all the things that they think, or is there, are they trying to say that this is like addiction? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
feel like
yeah.
that cannabis use disorder is all doesn't always seem to be very well defined, and they're certainly not
No.
defining it in this article.
Mhm.
So I don't know. But this fella goes on to say, despite these trends, we know very little about whether or not having cannabis use disorder increases the risk of death, said Myron, the Canada Research Chair of Social Accountability at the University of Ottawa in Ontario. Myron and his colleagues studied 11.6 million people for a median period of 5 years. They ranged from 15 to 105 years old and lived in Ontario between 2006 and 2021. Researchers found that those who received hospital-based care for the disorder were 6 times the risk of death within 5 years compared to someone the same age in the general population. After the researchers accounted for comorbid health conditions, these people remained at almost 3 times the risk of death by suicide, trauma, drug poisoning, and lung cancer. The researchers also compared the risk of death in people with a cannabis use disorder to those with an alcohol use disorder, and while they found that those with alcohol use disorders had a greater risk, it wasn't much higher. Large segments of the public do not perceive cannabis to have major health risks, said Myron, who also is an assistant professor in the Department of Family Medicine at the University of Ottawa and a scientist at the Bruyere Health Research Institute, ICES, and the Ottawa Hospital. Changing this mindset would require comprehensive efforts to prevent the development of cannabis use disorders along with more treatment and support options for people with addiction. But how are they defining cannabis use disorder?
Is it
No,
somebody who
that's what I mean.
who must use it every day or something? Who can't stop using? You know.
But are they taking that into account as medical patients also? Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
that's
there's
what
so
I'm
many
getting
things
at.
wrong with
Like,
this
what is
article
the
here.
difference here?
Yeah,
I,
I don't
I
know.
can't stop using each day because of like I'm
Yeah.
then in pain. So have I got cannabis use disorder then because of that,
See, I
or am I
wouldn't
just
say
in
that
pain?
is because you're using it for a specific reason.
Right.
Yeah.
I would say, you know, back in the day when I used to smoke a lot and I was a fiend for it, I would say I had cannabis use disorder back then because I
Right.
wasn't using cannabis for a specific reason. I was just straight up abusing it.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I was smoking 7 grams a day just because I could, because being a home grower and you've got just abundance of cannabis and you can just smoke,
Right.
smoke. You don't have to worry about the cost of it. You know, you just keep smoking because you can.
But did you die?
Yeah, a couple of times, you know.
I think there was some added stuff
But
in there. I don't know.
But
if you
that's
died from
it.
that.
Like when they talk about the alcohol, like alcohol's worse, but only by a little bit. It's like, fuck off, bullshit. If I
Right.
abused
Yeah, that is
alcohol the way
100%
I
bullshit.
abused cannabis over the last 20 years, I wouldn't be here doing a podcast right now. You know, and that's either because I wouldn't
Right.
have the mental faculties to do it, or I would be dead because of it. Alcohol is far more damaging than cannabis is. Even when
Right.
you know, even when cannabis is abused to its full extent, it's still not as bad as what alcohol is, in my opinion.
Right. No, I think you're correct on that. I'm actually reading a book right now called Buzzkill, and it's about the corporatization of cannabis in Canada. And I haven't gotten too far in yet, but the guy is talking about how alcohol, tobacco, and pharmaceuticals cause way more social health problems than like fentanyl and heroin and cannabis and all those like other things combined, which is kind of wild because obviously they're tolerated, advertised, pushed to our children, like
Encouraged, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And yet, you know, that nobody talks about that. So,
Right.
and I
Right.
think like cannabis, like anything else, can be abused, of course, right? Like that's why
Yeah.
they say all things in
Mhm.
moderation, but yeah.
Fucked, isn't it? Billy's sitting there quietly in the background. What are you saying, Billy?
Again, it's just more bullshit because most people who use it just know that's bullshit. If you know what I mean, they
Yeah.
extend your life for like 30 years and then take 2 weeks off at the end. So what are you going to do? Are you going to take
Yeah.
the 30 years and then with 2 weeks off, or
Yeah,
exactly? It's just
a celebrity had a quote like that. I can't remember who the fuck said it, but it was like, you know, you're gonna eat your whole grain bread, and because it's gonna make you live longer. But you know, how much longer is it gonna make you live? And it's towards the end of your life when you're pissing yourself in a nursing home,
Right.
Isn't it?
rather,
Yeah.
rather than when you're 18 going around shagging everything. You know,
Right.
so
Do you
Yeah,
do you
that's
want to
very
be in a
true.
nursing home being a dribbling vegetable, like not being able to wipe your own ass, or do you want to smoke some weed?
yeah,
There you go.
Yeah.
there you
Up,
go.
up to you, lads. Up to you.
You decide.
You decide. Yeah.
Well, at the end of the day, too, they do say in this article that we know very little about whether or not having a cannabis use disorder increases the risk of death, even
So then what
though
is this whole thing about?
the headline says the addiction increases risk for premature death. So, like, which is it? It's a little clickbaity.
Yeah.
It is indeed. That's what I
100%.
thought when they said that. Like, you've got it in your title, but then you say, "Oh, but we don't know if it's going to cause
We're
any
not
death."
really
It's like
sure.
you've got it
Right.
there. You can fucking.
You sounded pretty confident in the beginning, but now
Yeah.
Mhm.
so much.
It's like, as they were writing it, they just realized how much bullshit this sounds. You know.
Yeah.
So don't worry, everybody. You know, but of course we do advise that you use cannabis in moderation. And if you do think that you might have cannabis use disorder, then you know there is help for it. I would always offer advice if anybody wants any advice on how to quit. I can tell them how I got over my shit. You know, I say got over it like it was a mad addiction, but it wasn't a mad addiction. I just love cannabis so much, you know, and I don't have the willpower to just be like, oh no, I'm not gonna smoke this morning because why the fuck not? But you know, now it's better. Now I have a far better relationship with cannabis, and I appreciate it the way it is now. I have it when I want it, not instead of feeling like I need it all the time. But anyway, that's
Yeah.
a whole different story. We should do an episode on how to quit sometime, just in case anybody does need help with that.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean, I've had to quit some things. I quit cigarettes once. That was shit.
yeah,
I'll get
that's
there
the
one
tough
day.
one. Mm-hmm.
That was
God
not a
damn.
fun one. Yeah.
Yeah, and now I won't go anywhere near nicotine. Like, fucking hell. My friend
Yeah.
offered me a draw on his joint so I can try some of the weed he grew. Like, yeah, you want to try some of this? I'm like, you got tobacco in it? It's like, yeah. I'm like, nah, I'm not touching
Yeah. I don't fuck with
that.
tobacco.
Not even one fucking draw, man. I ain't touching that shit. Stay away from
Yeah.
nicotine. It's highly addictive. Highly
And
addictive.
legal.
Filth.
Yay.
And
And
fully
legal.
legal. Yeah.
It is honestly the worst, I swear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I can give up smoking weed, I can give up drinking without a question in my brain. I can walk away from those. Smoking has been the hardest thing
Mm-hmm.
ever, man,
Yep.
for me to quit. One day I will, but
Do it, John.
yeah.
You will
Do it.
appreciate it when you do it. You do it, man.
Yeah.
You can do it.
Mm-hmm.
But what do we have next? John, you want to? Let's do Billy's one next. But Billy, what are you saying? What's your news article about here? About this global gathering? Good raves, good
Yes,
times.
there has been an international experts gathering to shape up the future of cannabis legislation at the inaugural Global Cannabis Regulatory Summit. Sounds quite important, doesn't it? Eh?
Yeah, what a fucking
Mhm.
title. Gosh.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
A comprehensive cross section of the world's most influential policymakers and global regulatory officials are set to meet up with a group of cannabis industry's leading voices for an unprecedented inaugural global summit. So, taking place in Washington, D.C. from March the 25th to the 27th, I assume this year, the Global Cannabis Regulatory Summit, the GCRS, or the Summit as it's known, aims to lay the foundations for a global harmonized regulatory framework for legal cannabis. So, is this going to be legal cannabis worldwide? So
Hmm.
these lofty ambitions are matched by the event's guest list, which include US congressional members, current and former state cannabis regulators, and international representation from countries including Australia, Canada, the Czech Republic, Denmark, France, Germany, Israel, Italy, Mexico, the Netherlands, Ukraine, and the United Kingdom. Woo!
Mhm.
So, among the presenting attendees are such leading industry figures as Gillian Schur, which is CanRA Executive Director, James Cole, who's formerly an Attorney General, the Kathleen Sebilis, former US Secretary of Health and Human Services, and Vincent Fox, Vicente Fox, former president of Mexico. Okay.
Damn. So there's some high-ranking names there.
Some names, yeah.
So the 3-day summit is being hosted by William Mueck, don't know, and the Stanton McLean of Artemis Growth Partners, Artemis, together with the Adrian Clark and Nick Moreland of Tenacious Labs. Okay, covering content shaped with T. Jarling Erklands, CEO of Bejucan, and Safira Galoob, CEO of the liaison group of the current executive director of the National Cannabis Roundtable. I butchered some names there, didn't I? Lovely.
Terrible.
You got some good
Absolutely
ones.
shocking. Gosh.
Brilliant. You can tell I went to school proper, didn't it? Hey.
Mhm.
Can you speak proper English like what I can? You know?
Just about, mate. The invite only event. Oh, it's an invite only event, mate. None of that buying tickets under the door envelope style.
Nah, the envelope's already been passed, bro. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. The invite only event is supported by sponsors who rank among the most influential cannabis companies in the world and leading non-cannabis industry sectors adjacent to cannabis, from the mainstream Fortune 500 leading cannabis operators such as Aurora, Bejucan, Bloomwell, Curaleaf, 420 Pharma, Jacana, and Village Farms have lined up to sponsor the summit. These summit sponsors are joined by leading industry players from legal, Pierce Atwood LLP, and insurance such as AON and Fortune 500 giant Realm, RELM Insurance. The summit has received further support from network content and media partners, Black Catalyst Consulting, Cut Bill Jacoby, the Dow's Report, Fox North, Matteo Communications, Potash Global Strategy, and the Prohibition Partners, the UIVC, and the Vicente LLP, and the Woodbridge Research, if that means anything to anyone.
Nope.
Big names.
Marek, co-founder and chief investment officer of Artemis, said, ultimately, this is about building the united cannabis industry that transcends borders and fragments policies. So the summit is constructed to be a forum of collaboration in the learning of by and for cannabis regulators for the US and overseas. By facilitating these conversations, they hope to set a foundation for sustainable growth or substantive growth, efficient regulation, and better patient outcomes worldwide. So they're basically looking to change the laws in all their countries and suppose bring them in line together. So they can sell all their companies can then sell their weeds.
It sounds quite promising, right? Because it's like I get the impression that these are the companies that are going to rock up there and be like, yeah, we should be legal in, say, the UK, because the UK is going to be there. And be like, look, man, this is how much money you're going to make. If you legalize cannabis, you can tax it this much. You're going to get this much money coming in, less crime, and explain this shit to them. And then maybe they'll be like, this sounds like a good idea. So maybe even just planting the little seeds to get these countries that are still illegal to change their mind. Just a little push in the right direction is all it can take sometimes. So, this might end up to be a good thing,
Yeah, so basically the summit will open on 25th with a reception in Georgetown before a full day of medical cannabis symposium. So on the 26th of March, it'll be at the US Capitol Complex. So afterwards, there's going to be a networking dinner in the evening. So following that, there'll be another half-day session with a shift on focusing emerging adult use markets and regulations. So basically, that's what they're going to be pushing for. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. So confirmed appearances from all these people as well. So that's a good thing. So the need for an internationally harmonized regulatory framework for cannabis has been talked about since the industry's inception. So it's required that a collective with the right connections, resources, and expertise to transform vision into action, basically. So they took a moment to reflect on Germany's cannabis rollout, a process delayed by 2 years, but now showing strong momentum, sort of thing. So despite flourishing European market, they still think they can push the framework further, sort of thing. So the dinner surrounded by CEOs and major cannabis companies. They're realizing that the industry is collaborating with each other and harmonizing policies is probably the way forward, sort of thing. Basically, it goes on to say. So it's just, they're going to be pushing to change laws in all of these companies, literally, and it just keeps going on about the same shit.
Well, that's the way to do it, and I think they're heading in the right direction, brushing shoulders with these people, and dropping envelopes in particular places.
Yeah, that's particularly what this is. This is like an envelope passing around dinner, and how much you can earn if you join us.
Money talks, man.
Yeah, basically, it's a money talks dinner. So
and they're saying it's the first of its kind as well.
Pretty much, yeah. For this sort of framework, for it to be worldwide and internationally recognised frameworks, with all these countries involved, so that's quite a lot, really. That's like the most of the G7 there, isn't it? And shit.
Yeah. It's a good amount of people.
Be big. Yeah, so that's March, which is next month, literally.
So we'll keep you informed of that. Maybe we can. I don't know. It's invite only event, so it's probably not going to be live streamed or anything like that. But as we learn more about this, everybody, and find out what gets said there and who was there, who does what speech and things like that, we'll keep you informed as we move forward. Could be a big step in the right direction. Hopefully, it is.
It could be good news.
Because these companies, they're legal companies, and they'd come out to these places that are illegal and be like, yo, we're doing weed over here. We had this amount of money made, this much profit, this much turnover. We earned this much money. This is how much we paid in taxes, and they'll show that.
There's the only caveat is that none of these people are probably advocating for home grow. So that's something to keep in mind.
That's kind of I wanted to say that, but I just felt terrible saying it because it was
Yeah,
like
I mean, it's
it's a
good,
good it's
but
good, and this is usually what pushes, I feel, like getting to the home grow. You know, you got to get some companies like, hey, well, let's start our business over in some country that isn't legal, but we're going to start up the medical, you know, and it just kind of progresses from there, I guess.
Yeah. It's a good point, though. Yeah, they're not doing anything about home grow here, are they? And why would they? Maybe they just kind of get together and be like, yeah, just don't legalize weed, but don't do home grow. You know, and they're going to be persuading places that are legal already. Home grow is dangerous, you know. It's got moldy weed in the home grow. It's got pesticides,
yeah,
and it doesn't get checked.
it gets
Mm.
checked by the home grower. And I've read far enough articles that talk about commercially grown weed that still has plenty of problems with,
Yeah.
the rest of it. So that they're assuming that we can trust what they're up to as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're just kind of at odds with each other,
Yeah.
Yeah.
all the time. So the people still have to push for their home grow.
A nice step in the right direction, though, for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, man. So what we have next then, John? We have some news here about cannabis being a good medicine, right? I didn't know
Yeah,
that. I
so we
didn't
got
know
a
it could be used for medicine.
study. I know all the bad ones telling us, you know, we're gonna die earlier because we use it, but this one sounds pretty promising. Medical marijuana is more effective than prescription medications for treating chronic pain. Study says or
And
finds.
safer.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I'm saying?
New research on the use of medical marijuana for pain finds that it was comparatively more effective than prescription medications for treating chronic pain after a 3-month period, and that many patients reduced their use of opioid painkillers while using cannabis. The study, conducted in part by a federal researcher at the National Cancer Institute and funded by the state of Pennsylvania's Medical Marijuana Academic Clinical Research Program, was published late last month in the journal Pain. The report concludes that despite some methodical limitations, the analysis was able to determine using causal inference techniques that that use of medical marijuana for chronic pain under medical supervision is at least as effective and potentially more effective in relationship to patients with chronic pain treated by prescription medications, non-opioid or opioid.
And that's the important thing
I
there. Non-opioid or opioid. You know, to
Right.
just get them off opioids altogether. Opioids are so fucking terrible, you know?
Yeah.
Massively addictive, very
I
dangerous.
can't do them. I can't do them. They're so gross, man.
Yeah, man.
The study by authors at the University of Pittsburgh, Harvard Medical School, and NCI compared patient-reported outcomes and electronic medical record data from 440 medical marijuana patients and 8,114 people who received conventional medications. That's a big difference in a number, though,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Notably, the demographics of the group differed somewhat, with the medical marijuana group having a higher percentage of Black patients and patients with medical comorbidities and reported drug use, as well as lower rate of tobacco use. Conditions and pain levels also differed, with medical marijuana patients having a lower percentage of spinal pain diagnosis, but a higher rate of fibromyalgia, neuropathic pain, headaches, arthritic conditions, and other musculoskeletal pain. I think I didn't butcher that too terrible.
That was fine, yeah. I understood what you meant. Muscly
Regardless of those
skeleton.
differences,
Yeah.
authors said their analysis allowed them to make rigorous comparisons to a control group receiving prescription medications. In sum, using a causal inference approach, we found that medical marijuana was comparatively more effective than prescription medication treatment for chronic pain, with the odds of responding being 2.6 times higher in the medical marijuana group and having twice the predicted probability of a positive response, the report says. While we found that medical marijuana was comparatively more effective, we cannot extrapolate to conclude that medical marijuana is likely more effective in other populations, particularly because we compared two different, albeit similar populations. A more conservative interpretation of our result, it continues, is that medical marijuana is at least as effective as prescription medications for chronic pain. Specifically among medical marijuana patients, 39% had a meaningful treatment response after 3 months compared to 35% of people on traditional medications. Authors noted that the rates are in line with many randomized controlled trials results of medical cannabis for pain. The positive response among medical cannabis patients was also maintained at 6 months, speaking to its durability, the report says. Among the 157 medical marijuana patients who also had been prescribed opioids, authors observed a 39% reduction in prescribed morphine milligram equivalents, a standard measure of opioid dosage over 6 months of treatment. This is meaningful in that lower daily MMEs is associated with an improved safety profile. They wrote, adding that the findings seemingly contradict other studies finding no opioid sparing effect of marijuana. Okay, so, I mean, that's positive, right? We're reducing the use of morphine and other drugs like that.
I would say so. Because those can be quite harmful when used for a long period of time as well. For short periods of time, then sure they might be okay. But take them 6 months in a row, a year in a row. Chronic pain is something that goes on for a prolonged period of time. And to take opioids and those heavy kind of painkillers for a consistent period can be damaging to the body, damage to the kidney and liver. So, cannabis is a better option. And I'm not saying that it's an option for everybody. Some people it doesn't work for. What did he say here? 39% of people? It was like a third of people it works well for. And there's 2/3 of people that it doesn't. So,
that was 39%. It was a 39% reduction in the use of morphine.
Oh, right. Okay.
So I guess using them both together reduced the amount of, morphine being used, which is a positive in my opinion.
I would say so.
Let's continue here. While we cannot conclude that medical cannabis is opioid sparing, the study continues. Our results do point to possible use as an adjunct in trying to wean opioids successfully. The research team acknowledged some limitations of the study, including that the types of cannabis products and dosage amounts, including THC and CBD levels, for example, were unknown, which precludes the determination of any dose response relationship to medical marijuana outcomes. Authors were also unable to determine potential differential therapeutic effects of various medications such as opioids or non-opioids versus medical cannabis. And finally, we were unable to track the potential harm of medical marijuana, such as development of cannabis use disorder. There's that goddamn word again. And such effects have been noted in systematic reviews. The new paper says it does not, however, mention the ability to track opioid use disorder among the control group. The findings come amid separate reports indicating that marijuana is a promising treatment for pain. Recent federally funded study, for example, shows that legalization of marijuana in the United States is associated with reduced prescriptions for opioid pain medications among commercially insured adults, indicating a possible substitution effect where patients are choosing to use cannabis instead of prescription drugs to treat pain. These results suggest that substitutions of cannabis for traditional pain medicines or medications increases as the availability of recreational cannabis increases. Authors of the report wrote, nothing that there appears to be a small shift once recreational cannabis becomes legal, but we should see stronger results once users can purchase cannabis at recreational dispensaries. Reduction in opioid prescription fills stemming from recreational cannabis legalization may prevent exposure to opioids in patients with pain. The paper published in the journal Cannabis continues and lead to decreases in the number of new opioid users, rates of opioid use disorder, and related harms. Other recent research also showed a decline in fatal opioid overdoses in jurisdictions where marijuana was legalized for adults. That study found a consistent negative relationship between legalization and fatal overdoses, with more significant effects in states that legalized cannabis earlier in the opioid crisis. Authors estimated that recreational marijuana legalization is associated with a decrease of approximately 3.5 deaths per 100,000 individuals. Our findings suggest that broadening recreational marijuana access could help address the opioid epidemic, that report said. Previous research largely indicates that marijuana, primarily for medical use, can reduce opioid prescriptions, and we find it may also successfully reduce overdose deaths. I mean, it goes on, just more research, basically. Let's see.
It seems like a pretty long article.
Yeah, it's a pretty long one. You could read it, more of it if you'd like.
No. People can,
moment.
marijuana moment. They can go there and check out the article if they want to read more. But,
I
pretty
mean,
much that's it summed up, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a pretty, positive article in my opinion. I mean, I wish there were more studies like this done, honestly.
Yeah.
But with more detail, like, it's almost like they throw some of these together willy-nilly and just like, well, we're going to take these 10 people over here and these 500 people over here, and we're just going to throw them in without knowing any of the information.
Yeah. Because when they're saying they're using cannabis, they're using THC, are they using CBD? What sort of rate are we looking at there? Is it 15%, 20%, 25%? There's so many things that needs to be taken into consideration to know how this works as well.
You'd think they'd be able to kind of find that out from medical patients, though, that use cannabis.
But if they're getting it legally, I suppose they are in this instance, right?
I would assume so.
Yeah. Not just random people who use cannabis.
Right.
Interesting. What do you think about this, Margaret?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think anything that can help you maybe take a little bit less of a more addictive substance is probably useful.
Yep.
Yeah,
But
sure.
I mean, I'm watching the chat too, and like it's pretty clear that managing pain and chronic pain is a really complex endeavor for a lot of people, and everyone's biology is so unique. So you just kind of have to like do what's best for you. So
yeah,
I think opioids have obviously been pretty problematic over the years, but I think the doctors are also becoming a little more discriminate about how they're prescribing too.
Well, I think they kind of had to.
Well, yeah.
It got so bad because they were just pushing it on everybody for anything.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Ridiculous,
it was a panacea for everybody, and they weren't talking about how that's addictive qualities, and
Yeah.
it was, and they created an opioid crisis because of it.
Yeah.
That we're
Yeah.
still dealing with today. So, but
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that those medicines aren't really helpful for a lot of
Absolutely.
people.
Yeah. I just think cannabis should be the first one. That's what they should go to first, because from what we see, from the lack of studies that we have, we don't have many, unfortunately, but from what we've seen, it's a lot less harmful than some of these medications here. These opioids. You use them for a long period of time, or even if you take too many in a day, then it can be massively damaging to your body. I mean, cannabis isn't the same. It can help maybe relieve the pain, or just make people feel better with the pain. Just to relieve the symptoms somewhat.
But that's what all the other ones are doing also.
Yeah, but they're killing the liver off as well.
well, right. But I'm just saying the effect is still the same thing. It's not like you're fixing the problem.
Yeah,
you're
very true.
masking it regardless.
Yeah.
Chronic pain's a tough one, man. Just
it really is.
Just do what you can to reduce the negative effects, man. You just try and I don't know, whatever it is, take cannabis, take the opioids if you need to, physiotherapy, all that kind of shit. I'm not a doctor, so I don't know. And, an individual will know their own body better than anybody else does. So, you do what's good for you. But it's good to see. I think just the more people who are not using opioids anymore because they're using cannabis instead, everyone is a bonus.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it. Yes. Very interesting. We have one more article to go to. This is an explosive article. You see what I did there? Explosive. Fucking hell. Anyway, cannabis lab raid prompts explosion warning. Weird, right? Look at this picture. It's got the gas canisters and shit. An industrial oven pressure cooker, hydraulic press, and gas canisters were seized. A man has been arrested after a suspected cannabis shatter lab was discovered. Police raided a property in the Concord area of Washington where they found an industrial oven, pressure cooker, hydraulic press, gas canisters, and 4 bags of cannabis. They don't mention the size of those bags of cannabis. You know, is it going to be just little tiny bags, 10 bag in each one? You know, or are they going to be fucking carry bags, Tesco bags? You know, looking at bin liners, black bags, you know what I'm saying? What kind of bag we're talking about here? Can you be more specific with your numbers, please, BBC? Well, I digress. 4 bags of cannabis, yeah. Size has not been determined. It was believed they were being used to produce highly flammable cannabis oil used in vapes and cannabis sweets. Northumbria, it's pronounced edibles, just saying. No.
They get it right.
You know what I mean? Gosh, do your research, man. Gosh. Northumbria police, who arrested and bailed a man in his 40s, warned the production methods officers found can easily result in explosion and fires. Shatter Labs produce a highly concentrated honey-coloured, not flavoured, it just started to get a bit delicious then, didn't it? Honey-coloured cannabis oil, or a thin, brittle substance which is broken and shatters like gas. Detective Chief Inspector Michael said, in the case of cannabis shatter, we cannot stress strongly enough the danger that individuals are putting themselves and others in by producing drugs in any way. Doing something as simple as flicking a light switch or turning on the fridge on and off could cause an ignition to lead to an explosion. The results can be catastrophic. And that's
So
pretty
there
much the
was-
article right there, but sorry, John,
There
you were
was
saying.
there was no explosion.
No.
They caught this guy before.
Caught the guy.
It could have
right.
happened.
That's right.
Who's turning their fridge on and off?
No, I think that's
Well,
the
it
way
kicks on
fridges
and off,
work.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a
automatically.
certain when it gets cooled down, a certain thing flickers and there is a spark.
Yeah, the compressor kicks in.
I
Yeah.
see.
That's what happened in Fight Club, but we won't talk about Fight Club.
Can't talk about Fight Club.
Yeah, don't talk about Fight Club. But what got me here, all right, is all this bullshit. You know, doing something as simple as sticking up. Where was it? Where was the specific thing he said? In the case of cannabis shatter, we strongly enough that the danger, blah blah blah, the individuals putting themselves in, because you can blow shit up, right? You know how this can be prevented, officer. You know how? Legalized and properly fucking regulated, so people don't have to make it in a shady fucking room and go to a proper building, you know, proper infrastructure with proper ventilation, so it's safe to make these products. But no, don't listen to me. I'm just a random guy on the internet. Gosh,
Right?
madness, man, madness. And it's like they don't see this shit. That they must see it. They must see it, and they just they keep it illegal because they got their friends in bulletproof glass fucking greenhouses. You know what I'm saying? God damn. But yeah, making shatter is very dangerous, everybody. It needs to be done correctly and best left to professionals. But unfortunately, here in the UK, you're not allowed to be a professional. It's fucking ridiculous. So, you know, people make... they do what they can and cut corners. And as a result, it can be very dangerous when you're making this kind of this cannabis extract. So you have to be very careful. Right. But, you know, the only way that things like this are going to stop, and the best way you can make people safe when they're going to make shatter, because, you know, if there's a demand for it, people are going to buy it. So if somebody's going to buy it, somebody has to make it. So as a result, we have these people, you know, risking their lives and other people's lives just to make cannabis shatter, because there's no other way to get hold of it. So if you want to stop this from happening, if you want to make people safe and you care so much about safety of the consumer and the manufacturer in this case, then you need to properly legalize and regulate. That's the only way out. Yeah. What are you saying, Billy? You got anything to say on this one?
It's hard really, because it's a 50-50 thing, isn't it, really, to be honest, mate?
What do you mean 50-50 thing?
Well, it like you say, he shouldn't be making it because it's illegal. But then, if it wasn't illegal, he could make it legally. So it's you got both sides of the argument there, isn't it? Because again, obviously, making the shatter and all of that is quite dodgy. But what else are you meant to do?
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, the government force you to do it illegally, so you got to do it illegally. There isn't a legal route, so that's what I mean by 50-50. It's just like depends on what side of the coin you want to look at, the good or the bad.
And that's it. He shouldn't be doing it in a way that's dangerous. But he's entitled to do these things if he wants to, and it's not his fault or her fault. We're just assuming it's a bloke. Did it say it was a guy? Man in his 40s. That's what they said, didn't they?
Yeah.
So yeah, some guy. But man, it's like, I'm sure if he really wanted to do this, he would. He doesn't want to put himself at risk. You know what I mean? He doesn't want to be standing there in a room filled with fucking gas, breathing in butane and shit, does he? But he's forced to do that because of the ridiculous laws that we have in this country. The way for him to be safe is for it to be properly legalized and regulated, so you can either go somewhere to get it done, or get the necessary equipment and do it safely. I don't know.
It's a lose-lose situation in a way.
Yeah. Because I think when it is legalized and regulated properly, I don't think people would be making much of this themselves. They'd rather just go and buy it,
Right.
Because it should be easier to get
you're
hold
still
of.
going to have people that are going to do it.
Yeah. It'd be a lot less though.
Yeah.
And do it outside. Absolutely, I see it. Make sure you do this kind of thing outside. God damn, it's just dangerous out there. Just be careful, everybody. Take all the precautions you can to do it safely, because the government, regardless of how much they go on about safety for the consumer, put your seatbelt on, regulate this, regulate that. When it comes to cannabis and other drugs, you're on your own, motherfucker. So you have to, you have to be cautious about these kind of things. But yes, interesting news article. But I bet these guys with that fucking £10 million secret cannabis garden, or whatever the fuck we're calling it, cannabis factory, I bet those guys will be making shatter soon, and they won't have the police kicking off the door. Just saying.
No.
Right, so forum news. Just a quick shout out then to High on Hash Club, which is Billy's show. Which what days is it going to be on, Billy? Can you remember?
It's going to be Saturday evenings, but it's going to be the last Saturday of each month.
Okay.
So this month it's on Saturday the 22nd of February.
Oh, it's just a couple of weeks
away.
In
2 weeks.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Sweet.
And he's got a new hat.
Yep.
Yes. Okay. And a new pair of socks. We also have Seedsman Grow Off coming soon. I don't know if I mentioned this yet, but we've got some Grow Off coming with Seedsman. Seedsman Seeds have got a lot of new strains coming in soon. And we're going to do a Grow Off over at Percy's so you guys can test them out. If you've got a diary completed over at Percy's, especially if it's in the full grow diary section, that section with all the beast diaries, then come and drop your name on the list. We can have a maximum of 20 people coming to join. Seedsman will send you out free seeds. And you just got to run a diary so we can see how they all go. So yes, get involved in that. There's certain criteria to entry. It's not like anybody can just sign up and get free seeds, because obviously we want to make sure that we get a diary in return for the seeds. Quid pro quo. The seedsman just doesn't want to throw around free seeds to everybody. They want to see the plant grow and get some kind of feedback on how they do as well. So, we're working as a team with Seedsman to get this done. So if you think you can run a full diary, and you've run a full diary in the past over at Percy's, then let us know. And maybe you can get involved in this competition, get some free beans of your choice from like 16 different strains. It's very cool.
How many people have already signed up for that, or?
I think we're on about 16, so there's only a few slots left.
Nice.
That's pretty good. So get your names in there, people.
Yeah. Get signed up. And it begins in March. Oh, yeah, and as well, there's more info to this fucking Grow Off, but I won't going to go into too much detail. There's the diaries at the end, because we're going to finish it around September time, I think. Run all the diaries and shit, make sure everybody gets a chance to finish theirs off. And then whoever ran the best diary, there's going to be 3 prizes. And first prize is €250 to spend at seedsman.com. Second prize is €100, and the third prize is €50, which you can spend on whatever you like over at Seedsman. So
That's a nice chunk.
More incentive, free beans, good chance of winning. What's that? 7 to 1 of winning top prize there, ish. Good chances, man. Get over there. Sign up to percysgrowroom.com because it's an epic website. Epic. Yeah, but that's it. I think that's everything, right? Anything to add?
Yeah,
You got some news, Margaret, from the Bite Me side of things?
No, not really. Bite Me, the show about edibles. Check it out. BiteMePodcast.com. and all your favorite places. I'm on Blue Sky now.
Boo! You one of them, are you?
I sure am.
And that's what I haven't even been over there yet.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean,
Mm.
yeah, I can talk openly about cannabis, which is nice because you can't really do that
Oh,
on
really?
Instagram.
You
Yeah.
can't do that anywhere, really, can you? And they're not
No.
shadow banning you for speaking about cannabis over there.
No, and surprisingly, I'm currently not shadow banned on Instagram, so that's kind of nice for a change.
But that's cool. Yeah, man.
We'll see how long that lasts.
Congratulations, that's good news.
Thank you. I don't know what I did. But
Nice. Well, there we go then. Yeah, let's take a smoke break. Let's go. Look at that. Smoke break time. Smoke break time. Let's talk about aliens, man.
Aliens. Whoa.
I don't know. Let's not do that.
oh,
Let's
the
not do that.
aliens.
Gosh. Yeah.
Ain't there some sort of football game going on tonight?
Is there?
Oh yeah, the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some
Oh,
sort
is the
of
Super?
game
Is
in
that
the
on
bowl.
Yeah.
today?
That
Yeah,
is today.
I got it
man.
on, but
Yeah, has
Yeah.
it started already?
no,
Not yet.
it's not started yet. Hour. And
I
a half
completely
yet.
forgot about that.
Oh,
God
okay.
damn. Oh,
Yeah, so
man.
it's like on after this show here for
That's
those
right,
of us.
everybody. Super Bowl
Right.
Sunday.
Sunday.
I'm gonna
Who's,
think
reload
who's
this
doing the
one.
halftime show? I don't remember.
Is it
I
Kendrick
think it's
Lamar or
Kendrick
something like
Lamar.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See these news
I only used
articles
to
out
watch
there?
it
It's like
for the
Kendrick Lamar will
commercials.
not be paid for these halftime shows. It's like nobody gets paid for Super Bowl halftime show. What are you talking about?
Do they not?
No, nobody gets paid for all the acts that have done it. Have never been paid for it. It's just the exposure,
advertising
what
for 'em
they
then, isn't
call it.
No. But none of those people that are doing it need any more exposure.
Yeah, I know, right?
Silly.
Right.
Yeah.
Jesus. I mean, if I were to
Gets
do
them
the
into the
Super
Got their
news,
Bowl-
you
anorak
know?
on and
Halftime
opening
show.
up on stage and all that.
if I were to do the halftime show, that would be exposure for me. That would be
Yeah, you know,
probably
Up there
break my
just making
website.
edibles.
high
I'm
on
sorry,
homegrown
cannabis
halftime
sweets.
show. You know,
Yeah,
What the shit.
that'd be
Yeah.
cool.
it would be. But yeah.
Fuck that.
Oh my god.
Grab
Oh my
some
God.
cannabis. Yeah, man, it's been an interesting week. We won't talk much about what's going on in the news because it's all controversial right now. Fuck yeah.
I'm gonna
Oh,
grab a
fuck,
drink.
the world's on
I
fire.
do. So I do have something to say about the whole Minnesota thing we were kind of talking about there for a second, and I
Right.
forgot about it until just a little bit ago. But and what made me think of it was our first story about that cannabis company. But so here in Minnesota, it's been legal, right? But nobody's growing yet. Nobody's doing anything except for the tribal nations. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So that that's the only place you can go because they were growing medically beforehand, so they were like right on it. As soon as it went legal, they were able to sell out of their dispensary. And now that this year they're going to be starting to give out licenses and stuff. One of them already has a store picked out that they're going to be supposedly up and running in a month because that's when they're planning on everything, like licenses starting to roll out. But my question is like, how do they know that they're going to get a license? Right? Because they're not actually on tribal land. Whereas if they were on tribal land, they could have their own. They don't need to go through the state, right?
Mm-hmm.
But because they're setting up one and they'll be immediately ready to go,
Right.
you know, like how do they know? Like it's been in the news and everything. Like, yeah, they're opening
what's
it
your
up.
question?
So like I'm just wondering how is this happening? that they're able to just it's kind of assumed that they're automatically getting a license from the state off tribal land.
Well,
It kind of falls in line with like, you know, like handing an envelope to somebody allegedly.
I think they just
Allegedly.
operate on a different kind of. I'm not really sure because we have a lot of dispensaries on reserves here in Canada,
Mm-hmm.
and cops don't bother them. Like cops, they usually have their own police forces and stuff anyway. But it's just kind
Yep.
of they're kind of allowed to do it, and nobody questions it. And a lot of people travel to buy their weed there because you can get great deals.
Yeah, but this is off of tribal land.
Mm.
That's
that's
what I'm questioning
okay.
is like, how are they assuming that they're going to get a license from the state to operate in a month? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, do they
Well,
know
maybe
something
they're
we
just
don't know?
pushing boundaries a little bit and being like,
Right.
sure, close the store of an indigenous group of people and see how that goes.
Mhm.
I don't know.
They obviously know their envelope worked.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they've been going just heavy since Minnesota went legal. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
Everybody in
know.
the chat there mentioning Janet Jackson's exposure slash
Yeah.
wardrobe malfunction.
Right.
Remember? Yeah, that was a load of bollocks. Wasn't it? Remember that when that was the most controversial thing in the news? Remember how
Right.
simple things were?
Oh, yeah, those were the days.
You know?
Those were the days. I would love to go back to those
I
times.
know, right? We really did
Yeah.
peak at like late 90s, early 2000s. Man, we really did peak
Purely
there.
the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Also, shout out to Rev P, who just followed me on Blue Sky. Woohoo!
Boo! I have to say boo every time somebody says blue sky because, you know, fuck
Blue
that
sky.
shit.
Boo.
Fuck it. These dodgy websites. I'm
I
surprised
mean,
people
unless
are
you're
still
singing
using it.
ELO, you know.
Yeah, good tune.
Hmm. It's a wonderful tune.
Yeah. ELO's great
That's
band,
Mr. Blue Sky to you.
man.
Mhm.
Man, we might, you know, I said there in the news there, you know, we grow copious amounts of marijuana here, Winston. You know, remember that? You ever see Lockstock, right? Remember Lockstock and Two
No.
Smoking Barrels?
Oh, I do
Fuck,
remember that.
great movie. And the guy, he's walking around with a stone chick, and he takes her back to the grow place, and it's like, we grow copious amounts of marijuana here, Winston, and you're walking around with a bag of fertilizer and an unconscious girl. It's something like that.
I
Fucking
remember
epic
that part.
movie. Epic movie. Yeah. Everybody stop getting shot. Yes. Yeah, anyway.
Very good.
Yeah, but you
Very
haven't
good.
seen that, John. You haven't seen Lockstock 2 Smoking
No, I
Barrels.
don't think so. It's
Oh,
like the
fuck.
name doesn't like what you're describing pops into my
Boy.
brain as something, but like not the name for some reason.
You need an
Lockstock.
education in Lockstock then.
Yeah, man, you
Two
have to go
Smoking
watch it,
Barrels.
mate. Fucking
I mean, now
excellent
now
movie.
it's got to go on the thing. Let me put that in my notes real quick.
And so
Yep,
when you haven't seen Lockstock, have you
and
seen
Two
Snatch?
Smoking Barrels.
That's
Snatch?
like
Yeah.
Guy Ritchie, isn't
The
it? Guy
film.
Ritchie?
The film
Yeah, they're
is on
both
about.
Guy Ritchie, yeah.
Hmm.
Seen Snatch, the movie with Brad Pitt as the pikey?
Yeah.
Can you say that
Yeah.
on YouTube? Go now.
I think you can.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Flag.
Yeah. Flag. Oh, wow.
Got flag.
Just collecting them, you know. Troy tags. Troy tags. Got a caravan for you, man.
They're making a Snatch 2. They're going to call it Finding the Spot.
Jesus.
Oh God.
I like how it's just reserved for the smoke breaks now. You're doing well there, Billy.
Yeah.
Good job,
all right.
I mean,
They gotta make a
stop
whole
me
movie.
again while I'm walking. I'll cut your fucking Jacobs off. Remember that? Jesus.
I love watching that shit.
Yeah, epic movies, man.
So good.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Just don't piss off someone with a pig farm.
That's right. That's right. They go through bone like butter.
Mhm.
God, yeah, fucking good. Both great movies. They had The Gentleman as well. That was I don't think I've seen that
That
one.
was a good one. Yeah.
Not
I'm
as
sure
good.
I've seen- No, I don't think so. It's real difficult to make films as good as those two were back in the day. Damn.
It's
Yeah,
difficult to
them
make
two are
any
probably the
new
best, yeah.
good show.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, in my opinion,
Yeah, good TV.
they were all
Anyway.
better back in the day.
Yeah, everything was better back in the day. Is it just
You say
nostalgia?
that until you rewatch this shit and you're like, what the hell was I thinking?
It's
Yeah.
I don't know.
We've all had those moments, don't
Oh
lie.
yeah, for sure. I mean,
True.
what movie was it
Like,
recently? There was
so good.
what movie was it?
And then you're rewatching, you're like, that movie was shit.
It was Beetlejuice, the first Beetlejuice.
Right.
Yeah, Beetlejuice.
I was
yeah,
like,
that
oh
is
yeah, that
true.
was such a good movie. I'm looking for a movie to watch with my boy. I'm like, that Beetlejuice was good back in the day. That's all in the news. Beetlejuice 2 issue. I watched the original Beetlejuice with him. Watched it a half hour through. We were both like, what the fuck is this shit?
Yeah, not as great as you remembered it.
No, nowhere near. And it was real
It was
fucking
all
like,
fun.
it was real SA, you know, all sexual assaulty. Beetlejuice is a proper perv, like, unnecessarily. It's like, god
Yeah,
damn.
there's a lot of things like that too. Like a lot of sexual assault, homophobia, racism, like all these things were like at the time we're like, oh, this is so funny, and now we're like, ew, cringe.
Einhorn in
Oh.
Sprinkle. Finkel is Einhorn.
Laces were in.
What a fucking epic movie,
Laces
man. Shit.
out.
Did Margaret know what we were referring to?
No, I don't think
No.
so.
No, you weren't making any laughter or anything, so I was thinking you just thought we were all going fucking crazy, but that's...
Well, I do.
Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, man.
Oh,
Epic,
Yeah,
epic,
yeah.
great movie. Back in the day.
has that aged well? Has anybody seen it in the last year?
Uh,
I haven't.
I watched it a couple of years ago, and it's aged okay. It's aged okay, just because it's kind of like a kid's film, isn't it? But there's
Yeah.
that scene at the start where he saves the woman's cat, I think it is, and then it's just like it gets really sexually explicit. It's not really for kids, but it's like a kid's film. And he's hanging onto the door frame, being swung around and shit. Yeah, you know, it's like, what the fuck, man? Yeah, it's completely a bit unnecessary. I hate that shit when it just unnecessarily makes things sexual inside a movie for no good
Right.
reason, you know. But yeah, anyway, that's a different conversation altogether. You know
Well,
what's
there was
bad
a
about
horse
Neverending
death.
Story? The horse stuff was fucking traumatic, man.
I think I
It
have
is, it
childhood
is.
trauma for that, but that was worth it.
No, I can't watch that movie. I can't.
No?
I would like to watch it with my kids, but I don't want to see that horse die again. You know what I mean? What's the
Yeah, I
horse's
wonder if
name
they ever
again?
do a remake, they'd probably
What's the
take it
horse's
out.
name?
Atreyu.
Yeah.
Is it Atreyu?
No, I don't
I
think
don't.
so.
I'm not actually sure. That's a character in there somewhere, but
Yeah.
What's the fucking horse's name?
I can't
Go on,
remember.
somebody in chat. What's the horse's name?
Figured out.
somebody knows.
Yeah, somebody knows for sure because you know it's embedded in our memory, burnt in there. Man, what the fuck? What was that? What was that? How
There's
was
the
that thing
flying
was flying
dog
on?
thing.
You had a flying dog thing, yeah, man. What? You're not seeing one of them
I mean, some
before?
of those-
Dragon.
Some of those costumes were kind of also low key the thing of nightmares, but
Yep.
All right.
I have
Nobody's
no idea.
nobody's
what it
coming up with it.
was. Nobody's
Done.
coming up with a
nobody
name
knows
here,
the
man.
horse's name.
I'm fine.
Damn.
Type it in Google
I'm gonna have to ask ChatGPT.
or other search engines.
I'm gonna find it. 2 seconds. God damn it. Artax.
They're the one.
Oh.
That's the one. Artax.
Who was Atreyu?
That was the.
Was that the kid?
It was the air
That was the
hostess.
other guy, right? He's the guy who's pulling the horse out. That's a tree,
Yeah,
right?
the kid or the warrior or whatever he was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, he's
okay.
Yeah.
the character that lost the horse.
Yes, that's it.
Right.
Damn.
Yeah, that was a real moment that's forever etched in my memory. But
Mm-hmm.
I
And I was
mean,
like, sure, it's got to be okay. Spoiler alert, anyway, as well, anybody.
yeah, if you haven't seen it, the horse died.
If you haven't seen the 40-year-old movie, all right?
You are aging yourselves pretty seriously, you know.
God damn. But, yeah, because you're just thinking the whole way, yeah, the horse is going to get out. Of course it is. It's a kid's movie.
Right.
mm-hmm.
But no.
Too, like,
Here's
you know,
a hefty dose of trauma, children. What the fuck? Damn.
To introduce it to them early.
That's right.
Yeah, I suppose. Tragic.
Oh my goodness. Oops.
You know what I mean?
The
They
only
don't
Moses
make 'em
saying
like that
is
anymore.
Dragon. I don't know if that's true.
No, I don't think it was a dragon, right?
Listen, it's
looked
basically a
dog-like.
dragon. It's a
Is it?
dragon with a dog's head. Come on now.
A
Is
half
it
dragon,
dog?
half dog.
Yeah.
Okay. A dragon.
A
Yeah.
dragon.
Dude.
I like that. Let's
Dragon.
go with that.
Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
But there we go. And that's a interesting smoke break there. Let us know what movies make you feel nostalgic, or is there a movie out there that hasn't aged very well? You know what I mean? Let us know what you think in the chat, and of course, keep it friendly.
It just makes me think about like old movies from back then, like Clue, dude. Clue is so good.
Man,
But
so
can I
many-
tell you if it aged well? I don't know.
You have to go back and watch it again.
Yeah.
Damn.
Crazy.
The Forrest
Forrest
Gump will
Gump.
always be a classic.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, it's like the memes and it getting old is knowing that Jenny was the bad guy.
Right.
Right. I always kind of like Shawshank Redemption. That one doesn't seem to really.
Yeah,
That
good
one seems to
movie.
age pretty
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
I watch that almost any time I see it come across. Like it's okay. That one's cool.
It's just a long ass movie, isn't it?
It is, but it's good. It's good.
I watched 300 last week. Remember 300? God damn.
Barely, but yes.
What an epic
Little bit,
movie.
yeah.
Epic movie. That's some good shit.
You certainly watch Idiocracy with a different take now, don't you?
Yeah, when
Oh
everybody's
God,
wearing
I did watch
Crocs.
that in the last year and a half, probably, and sure
Still
does.
bad. Yeah.
And the Truman Show.
Right. I haven't
Epic.
seen that one in a minute.
Man, fucking hell, the Truman Show, right?
Mhm.
Like,
I
man,
love that
I like to watch. I've seen it like 50 times, man. I love the Truman Show too fucking much. I got issues about that shit. But man, it's like you watch video. I watch videos about breaking down certain details, and it seems as if Truman knew all along that throughout the whole movie, he already knew it, and the whole movie is us watching him like get to grips with it and get confirmation. But he already suspected that he was in a TV show or something. His life wasn't normal. Because at the start of the movie, he's in the garden digging in the spot which he escapes from towards the end of the movie. You know, when they're searching for him and he got out in his basement, there was a hole.
Yeah.
He didn't just dig that hole overnight. That was done over a long period of time. And he's doing that at the start of the movie when he even first shows up, man. So he knew all the way through the movie, and there's a certain point where he's speaking to Marlon, his friend. You see, I watch this film too much, right? and he already knows, like Truman already knows that he's living in some fucking fake world, and he's trying to find out if anybody else in the world around him is legit. And he finds out that his wife's fake, his mom's fake, it's all fucking fake, his dad's fake. And then he has his friend Marlon, and having that scene on the bridge where they're drinking the beers. And he's just trying to figure out, is Marlon in on it too? And you can see the look on Truman's face of like utter devastation. And it's not because he was talking about his dad or anything like that. It's because he's realizing at that point that even Marlon is in on that shit. Deep, man. Deep, so fucking deep, so excellently made. Fucking, I love that movie. It's artwork, that shit is, man. There's so much to it. It goes so deep. Anyway, yeah, Truman Show. If you haven't seen it, spoiler alerts.
Watch it.
Yeah, definitely watch it. But anyway, with that, we have a little movie section out the way. Should we talk about some hydroponics? Yes, let's do it.
Sure. Let's do it.
So here we are, we're going into more detail. This is episode 30, by the way. Last week we covered soil and different kinds of soil and how they all work and how to maintain them. And now we're going to cover hydroponic methods of growing cannabis. And there's quite a few different ways, but essentially it's all the same. It's growing cannabis in water. Just water most of the time. I mean, there's some hydroponic mediums like cocoa, rockwool, and clay pellets, which are considered hydroponics, but it's a little bit different, and we're going to cover those in different episodes. What we're going to focus here mainly is specifically growing cannabis in water with no substrate. Water is the substrate. Water is where the roots are going to be living, so that's what we're covering in this episode. So, and the first section here is what is hydroponics and how does it work? We explained a little bit of it there, but does anybody want to try and give a good explanation of what hydro is? Margaret, you've grown hydro before. Do you want to explain this?
Sure. It's a method of growing plants without soil using a nutrient-rich water solution to deliver essential minerals directly to the roots. And this allows for faster growth, better yields, and more control over the nutrients.
Then when you grew in hydro, you grow deep water culture, right, Margaret?
No, I did Rockwall.
Okay, all right. I thought it was DWC.
No, I've never done the DWC.
Cool. No,
So when you did Rockwell, you started it in Rockwell, you're saying?
Yeah, but
Or
then you
did you
can
do
move
like
into larger blocks of Rockwall.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How big were the pots eventually then? They must have been pretty big.
Yeah, they were. I mean, they were just like cubes. You just bought these like Rockwall cubes.
And they just get bigger and bigger. Yeah, I've seen them.
Yeah.
They're cool things.
Yeah.
Billy, have you ever only grown in living soil? Because I know you went about living soil quite a bit last week. But have you ever done hydro?
Yeah, I done hydro first of all.
Which type of
So-
hydro did you do?
NFTs.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I've never tried that one. We'll explain what all these are
Okay.
in a second,
No.
everybody. If you don't know what we're talking about with all these letters, just throwing out there DWC, NFT and all that, we'll explain in a second. What are you saying, John? What, you done a full hydro set before?
No, not full hydro, but I grow kind of like a combination, right? So like I grow in fabric pots with, cocoa or peat, and then
Mm-hmm.
I let them grow down into hydro, I guess you could say.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so yeah, so the roots pass through and then go into water.
Mhm. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a few different bits of terminology that we use there, where one of which was DWC. Now this means deep water culture, and this is where you're essentially gonna grow the cannabis plants in a bucket, and the roots, well, the plant's suspended at the top of the bucket, and the root grows through a netted pot into the water, which is in a big bucket underneath you. Usually around 20 liters of water is used for the DWC, but it can be much bigger as well. But that's essentially what it is, deep water culture. So it's just deep water with the roots in that deep water to grow plants. Yeah, and you'd use like an air stone in there. You know what you would use in a fish tank to get water and shit into the to get air into the water for the fish. So air stones, they bubble away. You'd have one of those in the
Yeah,
bucket
just
as
like
well.
oxygenated
Yeah.
water.
Yeah, yeah. So and you'll have one of those in the bucket, so all the air bubbles up and gets to the roots, and this makes sure that the plant's roots can get loads of water, loads of nutrients, and loads of air, and it loves those things. And in deep water culture, because you have that stone there as well, the air stone, it just gives the roots everything it wants. So the plant goes real fast, and it grows real big. They produce massive beast of a plant, man. And DWC is how I started. That's the first grow I did was in DWC. So long ago. It was a long time ago, man. But fuck, it was good, and it produced massive fucking plants, and a nice easy way to keep control of things as well. Like the nutrients and shit. But anyway, before we move on to that, nutrient film technique. You say you did that one, Billy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the technique there? What's going on there?
Um, you got to just control the mat wetness really. So you just got to have a drip feeder for it. I found was the best way. That's how I got taught. Was just have like a nice steady drip on it, and just clean it every time afterwards, and you shouldn't have an issue. But yeah, it's just basically a big mat which the roots grow onto and into. And then you just got to keep that wet with all the nutrients from a big feeder tray or tank, and obviously you keep your water aerated. So it's similar, but you use a mat for the roots to sit in, basically.
Mm-hmm.
A
Yeah, man.
big tray as well. It's like a long tray rather than a bucket.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've never tried it, man. Yeah, I don't like to have too much equipment because it's like you say you need
that's
like
what
an
I
auto
found. The
pump and
amount of
shit.
equipment you used and all that, and that's what I didn't like. I'm looking at all the equipment, and I'm like, how much fucking equipment do you need just to grow this way? And that's why I like the living soil, because you just don't need no equipment.
Mm-hmm. Then we have ebb and flow, which is also known as flood and drain. Has anybody done that one before?
No.
Nothing.
Seems like
about it,
a
really.
kind of old school way of doing it. And it's essentially let's say a bathtub is your plants are mounted above that like it would do in a big DWC pot, and then it fills up with water until it reaches a certain point, which is like at the top of the roots, and then it flicks a switch and everything drains back into a reservoir. And when it's all poured away, another switch flicks on that puts all the water back in, so then it fills back up again. So it's just like it says, it's flood and drain. You flood in a bucket or a big container filled with water where the roots are,
tray.
and then you're letting it drain away, and once it's drained away it gets pumped back in again, and it just goes round and round like that, flooding and draining. So the roots get wet, then they dry, wet, dry, wet, dry, and it's a way to get loads of air, nutrients and water to the roots of the plant again, and they love that kind of shit. So it again produces big plants and makes them grow really fast because it's getting all that oxygen to the roots. Yeah, but I've never tried that one either. I mean, again, it's all about because you need that bucket which the plants are actually growing in, but then you need a reservoir for it all to pump to and store in until that's done. So you need twice as much space for the water. You know, I can't be arsed with that. But you know, maybe that would be a technique that it could work for somebody. You know, if that sounds like an ideal way. All of these ways of growing hydroponically will produce bigger plants. You know, and they usually grow faster. Maybe save a week or two on the overall crop compared to living soil organics, for example. It just seems to be a little bit faster, and because so much oxygen can get to the roots, the plants grow a little faster and bigger. Yeah. Yeah, and then we have a drip system. Anybody done that one? That's similar to what you were talking about there, Billy, with the NFT. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, just
What
like
about
nutrients just dripped on it and just keeps it wet over time.
Yeah, basically, yeah. You just got to keep your feeding tank, because what you got to think of, when the water drops, then the nutrient content goes up. So you just got to keep an eye on that. But apart from that, you just got to make sure nothing's clogged up. Really, all your pipe work's clean.
That's it, man. The more shit you add, the more that can go wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's the issue. Is again more tools for it to go wrong.
Right. So then we have something which is considered hydroponics, but it's a little bit different as well. Aeroponics. Have you tried that before, John? You done any aeroponics?
No, but I do want to do this for my clones.
I know, right? It seems so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And it seems like it's pretty, I mean, it's kind of the same as DWC, except for your, spraying the water up versus maybe in DWC, it's already sitting in the water. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, this is the thing.
What's suspended in the air?
It's just like like in DWC where you got that rooted part, you got the clay pellets in it or rock wool, and then the roots grow through that and dangle down into a bucket of water, right? That's DWC. Same thing, but it's not going to be in water; it's just going to be in air. And with aeroponics, you get something that's just kind of consistently spray the water onto the plants, just a fine mist spray being constantly sprayed onto the roots. So it's never actually. Sorry.
On some kind of timer.
Yeah. Like once every 15 minutes or something. I'm not sure of the timing exactly, but it would just turn on, completely soak the roots, and then stop to let air get to it. As long as you don't let the roots dry out, then they'll be fine. But they can dry out and die pretty quickly. Like after 24 hours or something, it happens ridiculously quick. So if anything fails with this equipment, DWC not so much, because it's in a bucket of water, and if the equipment dies, like there's a power cut or something, then it's going to be good for 24 hours just sitting in that still water. It won't be as happy as if it had the air stone in it bubbling away. But at least it's got access to water and nutrients, so the roots ain't gonna fucking dry out. But with ebb and flow, with the flooding and draining, if the water stopped coming in, roots are gonna dry out pretty quickly. Same with aeroponics. If the roots dry out, the plants are gonna die, and that can happen if the equipment fails. So this is a massive downside with hydroponics. With those versions of hydroponics anyway, is you need consistency and reliability, because if something goes wrong, say you're at work and something breaks and you don't know about it until maybe the next day because you ain't checked on it, then it can ruin your whole crop just after a minor issue, Yeah, so those are complicated ways. You say you did a rock wool there, Margaret, didn't you? You want to briefly talk about that? Because it's not just like in water. Sometimes hydroponics do have a medium. It's just a soilless medium. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I mean the plant was just in the rock wool, and then there was a reservoir under the table that you had tubes feeding the rock wool.
Right.
That's where we put all the nutrients, was in the water, in the reservoir, not directly into the rock wool.
Right.
And that just pumped up over on a timer or something, like once an hour.
I'm trying to remember. I think they got watered for like a couple times a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. For a specific amount of time.
Yeah, it's the good thing with hydro. You can just feed it so many times, and as long as you got the air, the water, and the nutrients getting to the roots, it's gonna grow so fast, ridiculously fast, man. I think I grew one plant before that got 23 ounces. Just one plant in a 4x4 got 23 ounces in a DWC bucket. Just one fucking plant. And it was topped lots of times. I remember topping it like 7
Right,
times or
yeah.
something ridiculous. You know, because I had no idea what I was really doing. Just growing a fucking
Let's
massive
try this
plant.
today.
You know, listen, dude, just stick this cheese seed in there and let it grow and fuck. But damn, it was a beast. It was a beast of a plant. About 23 ounces I got from just that one plant in DWC. It had a long veg, like 13 weeks of veg as well, if I remember correctly. It was a long one. But, you know, a beast of a plant. A massive root ball. It was the root ball as well, because you don't see the root ball so much when you're growing in soil and things like that. You know, just the root ball. You got soil around it. You can see the roots, you know. But when it's just in DWC in a huge bucket, and you've got a 20-liter bucket that is now full of just roots. Like, you can't even put any water in there anymore. It's just roots. There's no space for water. It's crazy, man. Crazy how big those roots get. It's a good medium. One of the things I enjoy most about growing hydroponically is just the control you have over what your plants can get hold of. You know what it's eating, what the pH is. You're keeping things balanced all the time, making sure that everything is perfect. It's more control, and it's like growing by numbers, I like to call it. You just keep checking the numbers, make sure all the levels are correct, and everything will be fine. And if everything's not fine, you make small adjustments until it is fine, and then you keep it there. Yeah,
And it's like pretty instant too. It's not wait a week to figure out what happened. You know?
Yeah, it's like within 24 hours you'll see changes, for good or bad.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So with that, I mean, we've mentioned DWC because we're asking here which hydroponic system is best for beginners. What would you say, Billy? What would you say would be the best hydroponic system for a beginner?
Live in soil.
Jesus.
Son of a...
If you're going to do hydro, I'd say DWC just because of the extra benefits you get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And you said it was just like in a bucket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With an air stone.
Because when I had the Rockwell set up before, pardon me, it was like, I don't know, it did feel like too you need a lot of equipment for that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is one of the things with DWC. There's 2 different ways you can do it. There's DWC and there's RDWC, which is recirculating deep water culture. So in those cases, let's say you have 4 plants that are 20 liters each. So you're going to have an 80-liter reservoir with the nutrient solution mixed up in it. And you're going to have 100 liters in it because... Well, essentially, you're just going to keep filling the buckets up so it fills up, but it's also overflowing as well. So it's recirculating back into the reservoir. It just goes round and round of constantly moving this water around. So it's filling up buckets and it's never emptying in like flood and drain. That's not what's happening. It's just, it just keeps flowing around by filling one bucket, filling another bucket, and it empties out at the same time. It just gets recirculated like that. And so that's a RDWC, which takes a lot of equipment. You need the air stones in the buckets. You need pumps to move the water around. You need an extra reservoir, more piping.
All kinds of piping.
All this shit. There's so much that goes into that. So that's a little bit more complicated. But when it's just deep water culture, DWC, you can just have a bucket with an air stone in it, and then you're good. You don't need pumps and things like that. You just replace it I used to replace it every day. Take the bucket out, put a new one in with a new nutrient solution. You don't necessarily have to do it every day. As I said, I didn't know what I was doing. I just started growing then, so I was just doing whatever I thought was correct.
When like on yours, when you got so far in, right?
Mm-hmm.
You weren't able to do that though, right? Replace the bucket.
No, because it was in a scrog net, I was able to take the plant out and it wouldn't move anywhere. We just fucking hold there in the scrog and then put the bucket underneath it. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Get in there, you bastard.
Fucking absolute dickhead, mate.
Yeah, that's kind of the reason. Like I stuck away from DWC was because I was like, well, shit, I don't want to have to be, replacing buckets and worrying about the hurting the roots doing that.
Yeah. What I used to do as well is because I did it for more than one crop, I would lift off the lid of the bucket and then lift it up and then ask the missus to slide the bucket underneath and then and check out the old one, put a new one in, put it down, done, dusted, and then move on to the next one. It's such a mission. What a pain in the ass, man. Fucking hell. So yeah, eventually that got too much work, and I moved over to cocoa, you know, and then stuck with cocoa
Yeah.
for a long time because it's such a fucking epic medium. But we'll cover cocoa specifically in an episode of its own
Different one.
because it's such an epic
Mhm.
medium. Yeah, I mean, so there's DWC and the RDWC, and as you can tell, it just takes more and more equipment. And another reason why I quit DWC is for people in the UK who are growing illegally, you got to try to keep it, you know, and make sure nobody knows about it. But it was the room I was growing in was above my kitchen, and all the time, because you had the air stones on the floor of the bucket just bubbling up all the time. There's 4 of them. There's 4 plants. Each had an air stone in it, and it would just be like constantly like that, constantly. And you know, I was just anytime people were coming around, it's like a telltale heart. You know, it's just like it's ticking
Yeah.
it under the floorboards.
Yeah.
It's like fuck, man. It's gotta notice it. It's gotta notice it. It's the beating of his hideous heart. You know. So yeah, random tangent. But you know, I mean, you just always are concerned when you got these random noises going on in your house all the fucking time. So that's another reason why I stepped away. It's a great medium, man. So easy to deal with. I mean, not physically like that, like I've explained, but you can just get your EC pen and your pH pen and just check the reservoir. Lift the lid on the bucket, drop the thing in, check it. pH is good, EC is good. Next, and just go around it. You can see exactly what's going on in the medium of your plant all the time. But yeah, there's pros and cons to it all, you know what I mean? Yeah. So DWC is one to consider though, especially for beginners. Would you recommend the NFT for beginners? Billy, did you have a good time doing that for your first grow?
I liked it, but I just think it's far too much equipment and you don't need it now. I'd just go straight for the living soil.
Yeah. You're right there, John. What happened?
That's just funny. I don't know. Billing is living soil, man.
It's such an easy way. The thing is, when all these hydroponic methods were kicking up and people were using them, it was just massively illegal everywhere. So this was just an easy way to get things done quickly, big plants, you know, and there wasn't loads of soil left over. But now things are changing, and you can get hold of these high quality soils, and so things might be a little bit slower when you're growing in soil, and the yield might be a little bit lower. For the ease of things, you know, you really have to decide which way is best for you. And we explained the whole fucking soil thing, and that might be best for you. But if you want to grow plants quickly with good yields, with a little bit less time, then maybe hydroponics going to be the best way for you. You really have to put the research in to figure out which medium is going to be the best for you, you know, and it's difficult to do because there's so many options.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, NFT is good. And your method there, Margaret, would you recommend that for beginners, this growing in rock wool?
No, I think there's probably easier ways to do it because it did require a lot of equipment and a lot of setup, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, that's what's the saying? Yeah, it's keep it simple, stupid. That's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah,
And, you know, and the more equipment you add, the more chance you got of something breaking and then something going wrong. So, and again, this is where living soil comes in because there's no equipment, there's soil, and you
Right.
water it. You know.
Right.
yeah, it's as simple as it gets.
So, keep it simple, stupid. All these hydroponic methods. I mean, I know we're talking about hydro, but we're just explaining what they are and how they work slightly. We're not trying to encourage anybody to grow in any of these methods. You know, if this sounds ideal for you and that's what you want to do, then you're gonna have
I
some
mean, the
ideas.
DWC in the bucket sounds relatively simple to me.
I think RDWC would be better. You know, if you're gonna go the DWC route, I think because the main problem I had was changing that bucket all the time, and that was a fucking absolute mission. But if I just
Right.
had a few pumps that could pump it all round, then you could change the bucket once a week rather than every day or every 2 days. You know.
Yeah,
And
because the water becomes a thing.
Well, it's the thing is
You
as
have to
well. The
manage.
problem is they drink so fucking much, man. You know, it's like you put 16 liters of water in the bucket, put the fucking roots in, and it's full up to the brim, and you come back 12 hours later, it's half empty, and you got to top it all back up again. You know, and when it's heavy in flower, you know, it's obviously vegging plants ain't doing that.
Right.
But when it gets into fucking flower, my gosh, they drink. You got to top that up a couple of times a day. So to have a reservoir on the side that you can just keep things recirculating, that would be an epic way to go. Nice and easy. And then you can check the reservoir then. But in those cases, well, just so you know, everybody, it's better to do cuttings that are all the same cultivar. Because if you're doing different plants, if you're doing a white widow with a northern lights and a haze, the different plants are gonna sativa plants eat less. You know, indicas can have a higher EC. If you go too high with the EC with sativa dominant plants, what I've found anyway, is you'll burn the sativa a lot easier. So you can't have the different strains off the same reservoir because they'll all suffer. But if you got cuttings, clones from the same plant, you know they're all going to eat the same shit at the same level. So that's what's good for this DWC kind of grow as well. But man, yeah, it's such a great way to grow. And easy, get to keep track of things. Because we just briefly explained there, because you have access to the water, you can just put the EC pen in, and you can get these EC pens that are always in there. That's always monitoring the EC, and if it drops out of range, then you can have your nutrients linked up to that as well. But I'll put little drops of nutes in to keep the EC right, to keep the pH right. There's so many. You can go real complex with these setups and have it all automated in these situations, man. So Jorge Cervantes, he was looking at, so it wasn't a DWC setup, it was a outdoor setup in California, but they had all the pipes linked up around the plants so they can just send the water through the pipes and it'll feed the plants. But they had these automatic EC testers and shit just all linked up, and it was all linked up, all automated. Fucking epic, man. So if you had something set up like that, you could leave the grow for weeks at a time, possibly. It's expensive to set that kind of shit up. That's right, yeah, with a big enough reservoir. And recirculating as well. Smash it, man. But yeah, DWC is a good way. But anyway, so we're talking about pH now. The pH levels. How do you maintain a pH level in a hydroponic system? How did you used to do yours, Margaret? When you was did you just fix the reservoir?
Oh yeah, because everything was coming in like out of the reservoir, so we had a pH. There was a pH meter we had hooked up to it.
Yeah,
I think so long ago, but I remember having to like adjust the pH when you added the nutrients to the reservoir to make sure it was in the correct range.
yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, we definitely had like one of those nutrient meters or whatever. But
Yeah, and this is one of the things with hydroponic methods as well, is it's not the same as soil. With soil, you can essentially use just normal water, which is usually neutral around 7.0. Might be a little bit over that or under it, but around there is fine, because growing in soil between 6.5 and 7.5, you should be fine. That's a good pH for that. But when it comes to hydroponics, you want to be a little bit more acidic. You want to go for the 5.8 to 6.2 pH is a good place to be, and then the plant has got access to all of the nutrients that it needs right there in the water. If the pH is off, it's not going to have access to all of these nutrients that it needs. It gets locked off at certain points. So if it's too acidic, stuff's going to get locked off. If it's too alkaline, things will get locked off there as well. And the plant, though the nutrients are in the water, the plant can't absorb it because the pH is wrong. So you have to keep it between 5.8 and 6.2 preferably. When it goes into flower, it can be a little bit higher, say 6.0 to 6.4. It likes to be a little bit higher there, but that'll depend on the plant, really. A good rule of thumb is between 5.8 and 6.2, and you're good. You should be good all the way through the grow, keeping it like that. And that's easy to check when you're growing in hydro, because it's right there, you know. And if you need to change the pH, you can just drop a pH up or down into the water, stir it up, and adjust the pH accordingly, so the plant will be happier. It's so easy to do in a hydroponic medium because it's right there.
I always find that my reservoir always raises like the pH.
Right.
Like
and
I've never
the
had
EC
to go
rise
in
as
and,
well.
It can, but usually my EC stays pretty constant. Yeah.
'Cause that's the thing as well. I mean, there we mentioned pH, but when with EC as well, which is electroconductivity, and that's going to measure the amount of salts that are in your grow medium when you grow in hydroponics. So how much is in your nutrient solution? And let's say, for example, it's 1.5, because that seems to be between 1.2 1.5 seems to be what most people would work with. But let's just say it's 1.5, and this is what your plant's happy with. You're checking the nutrient solution, its EC is 1.5, but then it drops down to 1.3. Then you can add more food to that nutrient solution to keep it at that 1.5. It might be drinking a little bit more than it used to because it got too warm or something. And you can just monitor the EC level of the actual grow medium, which is the water, and keep it finely balanced the whole way. You know, so it's never being underfed, it's never being overfed. You got everything dialed in perfect. And especially if you've got a reservoir as well, and you're just checking the whole reservoir that flows over the roots all the time. Again, it's just having this ultimate control over the grow medium to make sure the plant's getting exactly what it needs.
The only thing I question, like, and I've been using reservoir the way I do it for some time now, and you know, with the EC drifting or TDS, however you want to say it.
Well, EC's best total dissolved salt is a little bit different from EC.
Yeah, yeah. But the problem, either way, right? Either way you're measuring, you don't know exactly what it's using more of or less of.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, so
you
when
just know
adding,
it's using
you're
more or
just-
less. Yeah.
Right. I wish you could dial that part in.
I
Be
know,
like,
right?
Oh, she's really just.
Oh,
sucking
look,
in
you
the
used a
nitrogen right
shitload of
now.
nitrogen there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice to know that shit? That would be fucking awesome.
Yeah, that would be really good, you know, because we're always talking like check your runoff and you know what have you, but we don't actually know what's left over in it or what's in that.
Yeah,
you know?
that's it. You just know overall. It's crazy, isn't it?
Right.
Well, it's more idea of what's going on. I think you get more of an idea of this than you would do in living soil,
Right.
for example, because you can't really do this in living soil. There's either too much, not enough, or it's just right, you know. You don't have any real control over that. And to add more of anything to a living soil, it usually take a week or two before it's plant available. When you're talking about these hydroponic methods, it's plant available straight away. It's, you know, if your plant's lacking in calcium or magnesium, as they do, it's going to take a week or two for that to get adjusted in a living soil setup. You've got to be able to anticipate that. You know, it's going to be difficult to treat straight off. But when it's in hydro, straight away, you get like, oh, CalMag problem. Here's some CalMag. Plant's like, thank you very much. You know, and that's it. This is why I enjoy
it happens real quick.
And this is why I enjoy growing in cocoa, because anything is just fixable straight away.
Right.
You know? So what we're talking about then, when we're mixing up nutrient solutions for these hydroponics, I mean, we're talking about pH and EC and all that, but knowing how to mix up the solution is important as well. So, I mean, Billy, you don't really have much to say. You don't even use nutrients, do you?
No, not as such. I'd use dry amendments. So nutrients have been thrown out the window for me, poured down the drain, given away.
Nice.
Sweet.
Hear more about living soil on last week's show.
For more on that, check out last week's episode.
Well, yeah, mixing newts. How do you mix newts with your hydroponics, John? What's the score?
Well, I use powdered nutrients. I don't use bottle anymore, except for the CalMag and silica right now. But you know, I just mix it for my reservoir. My reservoir will hold 10 gallons, or convert that if you'd like.
Yes, please.
But I usually only mix up about 4 gallons at a time, you know, and I just mix it because I'm using powders. I have to mix it for a lot longer than if you're using bottled stuff. But yeah, I mix it up and let it sit for a little while before I put it in. You know, so, and I just go based off of what I know now of how I grow. But you know, I start out at whatever the nutrient company recommends. I start there and then I adjust.
All right, okay. What about you, Margaret? How would you mix your nutrient solution? Can you remember? Because it's been a while.
Yeah, it was like probably a decade ago by now. I don't really remember, except we had jugs of it. It might have just gone right into the reservoir. Because everything, like there was a big reservoir that sat under the table that had the rock wall on top with the plants in them. So
yeah, it's pretty easy for me when I was in the DWC days. It was pretty easy. You know, I'd fill up I had 4 plants, right? Let's just picture this. I got 4 plants and I would have 5 buckets, and 4 of the buckets are obviously being used, but 1 bucket would be kept spare, right? And then I'd get that bucket and I'd fill it up with 16 liters of water. And let's say it's in flower. I was using advanced nutrients at the time, so you know it depends on which nutrient brand you're going to be using. And usually I'll give you a dosage. It's good to use a quarter of that dosage and make your way up until the plant's happy. Don't feed too much, which is easy to do. But at that time I was giving 2 milliliter per liter of the advanced nutrients. Scentsy Bloom A and B with some Big Bud. You know, I'd do the A and B first. A first, and then the B. Stir it up all good. And then if you're gonna use silica as well, is silica used for plants, right? Is it silica or silicon? I think it's silica. I'm
Silica.
not sure. Yeah, you know the one. That goes first. Put that in first, right?
Yeah.
But it depends
That's
on which
very
one you've
first.
got actually. But yeah, I used to have to. If I didn't put the silica in first, it would react with everything else, and it'll get cloudy in the water after you used it. And one of the worst things you have to do when you're growing hydro there and you're mixing up nutrients is start again. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
That
you
does
mixed
suck.
it all up, and then something goes wrong at the end, and you got to start all over again when you were so close. You're so close. Fuck. But yeah, silica first, then A and B, and then a PK if you're using it, and then any CalMag after that as well. But once you've mixed the nutrient solution up, whatever it is, that's when you adjust your pH. You have to make sure your pH is adjusted last. Don't do it first and then add all your nutrients and shit, because adding those nutrients is going to change the pH. And when I'm growing in a can of cocoa now in veg, I do notice that when I use like 1 milliliter per liter of the A and B, that brings my pH down to 5.8. I don't even need to change anything. So, you know,
No.
make sure you do that first. Add your nutrients first and check the pH level then, once everything's in there. And stir it up and good and let it sit for fucking 10 minutes or something. You don't need to wait too long. Some people would say wait 24 hours, but nobody's doing that. Ain't nobody got time for that. I got bronchitis. You know what I'm saying? But, yeah, so you don't let it sit too long. Just make sure it's done in that order. Some silica with the A and B, some PK 13, 14, then the CalMag. Then stir it up good. Make sure you stir it up really good now, and then adjust the pH. And when you adjust the pH as well, adjust it and then give it a minute or two to settle as well, and then check it. And that because sometimes it's like you put the drops in and it's fine. It'll be like, oh look, 6.2, you good to go. You'll be like, yeah, cool. And then you wait fucking 3 or 4 minutes and it's at 5.5. What the fuck?
Yeah.
It's just dispersed.
Definitely your pen depends on that too. How good a pen you got.
Yeah, and it's a pain in the ass to have to do it again, so be careful. So yeah, I've got these 5 buckets, and I'll mix up that one spare one with that nutrient solution in. I'll go in there, I'll hold up the fucking the lid, slide the bucket that it was in out, and then the new one underneath, drop it back down. That plant's done. Get that bucket repeat process 4 times. And I used to do this every day, sometimes every other day. God
Oh,
damn.
that sounds like so much work.
Oh yeah, because I was doing it wrong.
See?
That's why.
I guess so.
That's why I like a reservoir.
Yeah, that's
so
it.
You're not having to
Mhm.
even mess with your bucket at all, man. Like, yeah.
And that's it with the reservoir. You can just constantly check the EC, check the pH, and adjust accordingly.
Yeah. And if it's a little high in your reservoir and you need to add nutrients, you just drop your pH a little bit. And it'll once you mix it all up, it's going to be check it again and see where you're at then.
Yeah, man. And if you got a reservoir, if you're keeping an eye on it, you might not have to change it for like a week, man. And sometimes 10 days, maybe even 2 weeks, depending on how long or how much the plant's drinking at those specific times. So it massively saves on nutrients. Instead of me having to mix up them 4 buckets every day with all these fucking nutrients, it costs a fortune. Buying advanced nutes as well, because they ain't cheap either. So if I would have had a reservoir, sorry.
Did you see when you did DWC? Did it seem like in the beginning you wasted a bunch of water?
Yeah,
Like
not
water
wasted.
and nutrients. You know what I mean?
With nutrients, definitely. Yeah, if I would have been more efficient with a reservoir, then not as much would have been wasted.
Right.
But that's just how it goes, isn't it? You live and learn, as they say.
Yeah.
Right, so, and most of these setups are going to have some kind of reservoir. So if you can just keep the reservoir topped up and do pH and EC balanced, everything's going to go good from there. So, yes, keep the reservoir in check. And again, silica A and B, PK 13, 14, whatever PK you're using, and then CalMag, good stir, adjust pH, let it sit for 2 minutes, check pH again, and you should be good. And take notes as well. Because after you've done a couple, and the numbers are coming out the same every time. 2 mil of this, 2 mil of that, 3 mil of that, half a mil of that. Look at that. Look, it's all coming out of this pH. I put 3 drops in, 1, 2, 3, and now it's at 6.2 or 5.8, whatever you wanted it to be at. And that's sometimes I'll sit there and it's a pain in the ass, man. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It just drips out of your pet. Drip, 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 drip. Like 16. This one takes 16 drips. Yeah, that's a pain in the ass. And just as a hint there, pH up and down can be really strong, right? If you get the good stuff, it's really strong. You just only need a drip sometimes to change a whole bucket to make it drop a whole pH percentage. But you can, if you can get like just 100 milliliters of it and put it into 900 milliliters of water, so it's like a 10-to-1. You got a liter of water, but it's really diluted. It makes it much easier to because you can get like 5 millimeter and just blast 5 millimeter instead of drip, 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 drip. You get more control and it's easier to manage it. If your pH is too strong, then dilute it and use a diluted version of it, because it just makes the whole thing so much easier, in my opinion. Because that's where I fucked up the most. It's all mixed up and I'm like drip, 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 and drip 23 instead of fucking 16. And then you're like, it's on 4.8. It's like, for fuck's sake. Because you don't want to put the pH up and pH down into the same water, because they'll calcify and chemically react. Don't put them together. Fucking don't put them together. Really, yeah, it's a crazy. It's explosive, really dangerous, man. So yeah, you don't want to mix them together. So if you go too far, then you're just gonna have to start all over again. Don't do that. Be very careful. Take notes. We keep saying these bad things about hydro, but again, it's a good way to grow, man. Having this full control over the medium like this, it's really, it just makes things so easy. Because say if you're having problems, you can come over to Percy's grow room and be like, give us some information about the feed, and you'll be able to say, this was my EC yesterday, this is my EC today, strength this. You give us that information, we can tell you what the fuck's wrong with your plant and how to fix it. You know what I mean? Right. Just by giving us this information, it's like paint by numbers. It's all done. You just have to fill in the gaps and give it the necessary thing in the necessary place, and it'll be fine. So man, it's such a great way to grow, so easy.
Yeah, once you get it, once you kind of get your nutrients figured out and how you're going to be doing it, like then it just becomes a flow, I feel.
Yeah, like you build a routine around it all.
Yeah,
yeah,
man. And this is where Billy jumps in and goes, live in soil.
Yeah, live in soil, mate. You're right. Totally.
Yeah. You see, it's like I did say it, I was just on mute,
Exactly.
So as we've said many times here, when it comes to the roots, we want the roots to be able to get nutrients, water, and oxygen. And this is the good thing about hydroponics, is you can just get a nice healthy amount of all of those to your plants. But you have to oxygenate the water in some way. With the ebb and flow systems and aeroponics and things like that, there's already like nutrients. There's already oxygen added because of the way the water's flowing. It's flowing through the air, it's picking up oxygen, and then it's dripping them over your roots, or it's spraying them over your roots with the aeroponics. And there's gaps in between the water. But when it's in a bucket like DWC, then that's going to need oxygen delivered to it. It can't just sit in water by itself, because it needs that oxygen getting to it. So you would use an air stone for that. Now you can use an air stone like in the water, and then if you're doing RDWC, you can just put one in the main reservoir. But I used to just like having an air stone for each plant, man. They fucking love it. They love that air getting to the roots. So having one air stone for each plant, it's good for so many ways, because you can get loads of oxygen going to the roots, but it prevents root rot as well, which is a problem that happens in hydroponics if you're not careful. But yeah, oxygenating the nutrient solution is very important. You have to make sure that it's getting oxygen, either through the water flowing and trickling onto the roots, or by adding an air stone, or maybe even do both. It won't complain about having too much. Yeah, it loves that air shit. Did you have air stones in yours, Margaret, or was it just an ebb and flow kind of
no,
thing?
we did. Yeah, there was something to adjust the temperature of the water and keep the oxygenation.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Because the temperature is important as well. Yeah, the whole keeping the temperature not too warm, because it can give you root rot and shit. And not too cold.
But not too cold.
Because the plant will be sad.
Or it doesn't grow.
My feet are freezing. It's not going to be happy. You know what it's like when your feet are cold and wet. It's not cool, is it?
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah.
Not fun
It's
at
the
all.
worst thing. Yeah, they've done studies on that shit. On like people with cold and wet feet. But yeah, that random. Let's not go off on that tangent. So yeah, oxygenation is important. Make sure there's plenty of oxygen flowing around. Make sure there's loads of oxygen getting to the roots, not just because the roots love it, but because it prevents root rot as well. And Margaret, can you remember what kind of temperatures you were looking at with your water?
I honestly don't remember
Mm-hmm.
that particular thing, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 18 to 22 C or 64 to 72 Fahrenheit is apparently the best place to be. And it just
Mhm.
reduces the chances of root rot happening because the roots can go rot on everybody, which is a bit shit. I mean, it happens. It's not as bad as bud rot because, bud rot just finishes your shit off. But if you got a bit of root rot, you can cut it out. You can use some H2O2 to clean up the reservoir and shit, and it will get rid of most of it. So it is fixable as long as it doesn't get too bad. But to prevent that from happening, keep that oxygen flowing in, of course, and then keep the temperatures correct. You don't want to get too warm. So 22C maximum, around 18C is good. No lower than 15. And you should be good from there. Which can be a problem as well. It's extra added equipment. It's either a heater or a cooler, depending on what time of year you're in.
Right.
These things cost money. They cost
Chillers.
money.
Oh.
They can break. And when they do, if
Mhm.
they break and you don't know about it, then your plant's going to be suffering for a while before you realize, There's so many things with the whole hydroponic setup, and, it's just, again, while this living soil stuff is so good, because you don't need any of this. You just have living soil and water it a couple of times a week, But you won't get the yield as quickly. You have to weigh out these pros and cons and figure out which one is best for you. Can you remember? You remember changing the nutrient solution, Margaret? When you would do that, do you remember doing it and how long it would take and shit?
I don't remember that either. Again, because it was so long ago. And sometimes I'm trying to remember how we emptied the reservoirs because they were so big. They were stationary. Like there was a tap that was built in to fill the reservoirs. I just don't remember how they got drained.
Yeah,
So no, I don't remember.
So no.
yeah,
I've
but
consumed a lot of cannabis since then. So
yeah, it is a while ago,
yeah.
But it's all essentially the same thing, isn't it? Just as long as you're keeping the reservoir in check, then
Yeah.
every 7 to 14 days is a good time to change it. You can keep that depending on the size of the reservoir, make sure that there's enough water and nutrients in it, and it can go for a week at least. Set
Yeah.
that shit up, nice and easy.
Yeah, it was at least a week probably, for sure.
Yeah. Not like me doing it
'Cause it was
every
a pain in
fucking
the
day. God
ass.
damn.
It was kind of a pain in the ass to do, and then you'd have to wait till like the water to get to temperature before you can put the hoses back in and all that stuff. But yeah,
What a pain in the ass. I don't think we're
Yeah,
selling
well-
hydroponics here.
that's why I'm doing living soil. It seems a lot simpler for my life right now.
Yeah. Is anybody out there right now listening to this being like, "Yeah, man, this hydro sounds fucking awesome," Shit. But the thing is, back in the day, when this shit wasn't legal to do, then hydroponic was a good option, man. You could get things set up reasonably quickly. There wasn't shitloads of soil to get rid of. It's that whole paint by numbers thing. Just being able to keep track of things and be able to monitor exactly what's going on with the plant. It's a bonus, man. I really enjoyed that aspect of hydro, just having that control, But you got to keep the pH in check. And there's another point here about algae growth, which can happen. Anything that doesn't get enough light exposure can have algae grow on it as well. But you can use shit called H2O2 to add that to the medium, and with the plants in it as well. And the plants, that they don't mind it at all. So it keeps everything nice and clean. You don't really want bacteria in this like you would do in a soil medium, for example, because bacteria can just cause problems and smell funky.
Yeah.
So usually it's kept pretty sterile. But, you can keep good check on your nutrients, make sure that everything is working properly there, and if there's any problems, it's easily fixable. But when you have equipment break, the more equipment you use, the more chance you have of equipment breaking. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be very careful of that. If one of your sprayers go in your aeroponics, you don't notice for 24 hours, you might ruin your whole fucking grow. Just because of a minor issue with a simple piece of kit. You have to be very careful with that shit, man. Advantages, there's faster growth, higher yields, more control over nutrient uptake, but also lack of pests. And this is something when I grew in DWC first, then I moved over to cocoa, and I saw no bugs in my grow for like 7 years of growing. No, like you see all these articles about bugs and shit. It's like, what's people's problem, man? I ain't seen no bugs. These bugs that. And then I move over to fucking soil. Straight away, thrips, fungus gnats. Fuck it up. It's like, god damn. Well, I did see springtails at some point in my cocoa grow, but you know they're not a bad bug. But hydroponics, because you can keep it so sterile, you really don't have to worry about the bugs so much. I mean, still be careful, but you know you don't need to worry about it too much because they got nowhere to live. Unless they're just going to live on the plants, but then they got nowhere to lay their eggs. You know, there's only certain bugs that are actually going to be able to survive in situations like that.
I think I do remember having fungus gnats a couple of times. I mean,
in
we were
hydro?
using rock wool. Yeah.
Right, yeah, using rock wool, yeah.
So maybe that's why, but they're pretty easy to manage anyway.
Right.
As far as pests go.
I mean, you got nothing you're bringing in all the time either that could bring those potential bugs in. So
yeah, very true. The only thing too is you just had to clean the reservoirs pretty frequently. Like we clean them every time they got emptied and stuff.
Yeah.
Just cause.
Yeah, because they do get like algae built up on the inside of them pretty quick.
And just kind of like, I don't know, it's just water all the time.
Nutrient
all that water.
film too.
Yeah, you got to just keep it clean.
Yeah.
But you're in there anyway, so it's not that hard to do.
Yeah. Right. And you know, it's a fun way to go. I know we've made this seem, I don't know if we've made it seem difficult, because it's really not difficult. If you've got all the equipment and it's all set up, and you know, once it's up and running and you're used to it, then yeah, it's pretty fucking simple. It's a great way to grow, man. You have lots of control over the actual growth itself and the delivery of nutrients to the roots, and having full control like that, it makes a big difference in my opinion. And you know, these are full hydroponic methods. There's other hydroponic methods that we'll cover in the future, like cocoa and clay pellets and peat and different things like this. But this is full water hydroponic setups, and it can be a little bit challenging to start with. But once you get it up and running, damn man,
But yeah, you are kind of right. Like you do need like a fair amount of equipment, and the setup it might seem a little more intimidating, but you're right. Once you've done that, you develop a routine, and then it's pretty simple from there.
Right.
It just sounds difficult, you know, because you got to add this, do that, do this, have this piece of equipment, that, and it seems really complex. And it's just so easy for somebody to fill a big pot full of living soil nowadays. But again, that's nowadays. 10 years ago, that wasn't really an option.
Right.
You had to build your own soil. It takes more expertise than it does to fill up a fucking bucket of water and add some nutrients to it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've done that, but I've never built my own soil. It's like, well, I might be missing something. What if I'm missing this or I'm missing that? Or there's too much of this and not enough of that. That's difficult too. You just have to figure out what's best for you. And, you know, the last couple of episodes discussing over soil and discussing different methods of hydroponics, you should have a real good idea there of, you know, what you want to try, what you think might work well for you if you want to grow plants a couple of weeks quicker, or a bit bigger by what 10-20% maybe. It's nothing major. It's not like, I mean, I say that, but in some occasions you can't double the size of a plant by growing it in a hydro just because you can smash it full of nutrients.
Yeah.
You know, fucking watering it every 15 minutes 4 times an hour, just rushing that shit through and recycling it back round and round, man. You know, the plant be happy as fuck, you know? But it's gonna grow big quick. I don't know. It's real difficult to decide which method is best. And this is why I like cocoa. And I think we're going to cover cocoa in next week's episode. I think we'll do that. Just a full-out guide on cocoa coir, man. Because it's a middle ground between the two. You know, it's a hydroponic medium, but it's kind of like a soil as well. If you can just keep it well-fed and monitor the EC and everything as you move throughout the grow, cocoa is such a fucking incredible medium. Not very much can go wrong when you're growing in cocoa. So easy. No. What do you think, Billy?
The only thing that I ever have a problem with.
I think we know what Billy thinks.
Yeah.
I mean, he's gone now. He's gone. Look at him. Right now, I'm not.
He's like, no, I don't want. You guys want to hear about my living soil?
You know what I'm gonna say.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's everything we have to say about hydroponics at this point. We're going to be covering cocoa and rock wool and clay pellets in the future episode. I think we'll do that next week. But is there anything we're missing here? Is there anything to add? Any questions you think?
Living soil.
That's a statement, Billy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, less is more in hydro, we said in the chat there, and that's an important thing as well. Just when you look at the nutrient manufacturer's bottle, go for a quarter of whatever it's telling you to do, and then build it up over time. Monitor the EC of the grow, and figure it out over time to what the plant needs. It's easier to fix an underfed plant than it is to fix an overfed plant. So just bear that in mind when you're going for hydroponics as well. You can smash them full of fucking food, but you don't need to. You want to keep a happy, healthy plant, not an obese one. You know what I'm saying?
Not an American one.
Not an American. Allegedly, 50% at least. Yeah. But that's it. I think that's everything for hydro. Of course, if you have any questions, then you can find us over at percysgrowroom.com and ask any questions over there. We'll be able to give you answers. There's lots of growers over there who grow in different versions of a hydroponics. So feel free if you have questions to come and ask over there. Or you can just join us on the Discord server as well. Just click the link for the description. I think it's in the YouTube video and it's on the download as well. So if you just go to the description, you'll see the link for the Discord. And come and join us over there if you have questions as well. Anyway, it's cool. Just don't suffer in silence, If you got issues, if you need some help, if you're growing anyway, don't be like, oh no, but they're gonna take the piss out of me, because we don't grow like that. If you have a problem with your plant, we want to help you fix it so you have a better grow and have a better time. So come and ask if you need help. Don't be shy. But that's it for hydro. Should we move to listener mail?
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's do it. We have one question here for the listener. Just one question this week. What's going on, everybody? Gosh.
GW Orton has a new one over there too.
Oh, does he? Okay, we'll do that one after then. So, okay, we've got two. Thanks to everybody sending in. Send us in questions, everybody. You know how we roll by now. We don't just have the cannabis questions. We like all sorts of questions. So if you just got a random question that you want to have answered this week, then fucking head over to percysgrowroom.com and drop it in the listener mail thread. It's all nice and easy. But we have an interesting one here from Turpo. Listen to this. In 20 years, do you think that people will live more of their lives online in virtual reality than offline in the real world? Will that make the virtual reality world more real than the real world? Damn. Who wants to go on, Margaret? You want to take this one away first?
I don't know if I'm the best person to answer this question, because sometimes I feel like people are pushing back against a lot of like social media and other online shit that we're doing, because they're just like, fuck, we're so sick of it, and it's full of advertising and like all this crap.
It's a good point.
But I'm also somebody who didn't grow up with the cell phones, so I'm a very different generation than, say, my 11-year-old niece, who's pretty online a lot. So I don't know, but I tend to think that maybe people might get fucking sick of it. But
I think there's something in the middle here that Turpo's missing as well, is augmented reality, where there's a combination of reality as we know it with some bits augmented by wearing a specific pair of glasses or contact lenses.
Right. That's a good point. But then will that be like me walking down the street and then I'm seeing ads for like shit popping up in my eye line?
Probably.
Because,
unless you got premium.
Eyeballs out.
Right? Yeah, like I don't know. I think people are getting really tired of like feeling like they're the product, and we're just there to be served up ads for shit we don't need. But that's my opinion. So
but it'll be ads of like when you're walking down the road and you say you're on the high street or walking through town or something, and there's shops, you'll see ads of the shops you're walking past, like, oh, come in here, you can buy a ring donut for 99 cents, and you'll be like, oh, that seems pretty cool, and just
but do I need the donut, or is it just more pressure to consume goods?
Well, yeah, that's probably right. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it kind of goes to the same reason we went to streaming services, was to get away from all that shit, and then now all of that is passed.
Yeah, they're still trying to bring them back in.
Yeah.
Well, I had a thought here with this whole, do you think people will live lives online in virtual reality? I'm like, in some way, people already do that. Say you play a few games, Minecraft, Grand Theft Auto. These are some kind of lives. The Sims. This is. I mean, it's not as in depth as what reality is or virtual reality is, but people do have these different lives, these different characters or avatars that they play on these specific games that are essentially in some way, so just a small section of their lives, man. So do people already live lots of different lives online depending on the network and the game that they're playing? I would think so.
I would
I
say-
think
I
people
would
have
say
different
yes.
characters.
Well, and
Depending
you could
on.
argue too that spending time on social media is sort of doing the same thing because you're like, if you're posting on any kind of social media, you're posting like a snapshot of your life, which
Mhm.
kind of curating a certain version of yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
And you want to post things about getting likes because people want likes on their statuses and shit. That's what really feeds the
Right.
dopamine on those networks. So people are posting just things that are gonna get a reaction. It's...
Right.
What do you think, Billy? You sitting in the background, all quiet there.
Yeah, I do think we will get a bit more virtual in a way because a lot of people are not. If you know what I mean, there's a lot of old people now that don't use phones and technology. So I think more as they die off, the younger ones replace that. People will be more and more online for sure. I think more gaming will be more online like that as well. So yeah, I do think it will be it go up rather than down. But you never know. It depends on also on technology as well because we might be at it with hoverboards and flying machines, so we won't want to be online.
Yeah, maybe.
You never
And
know. Maybe we'll
maybe.
be living on Mars.
Well,
'Cause
you know
we've
what my
blown up the
theory
Earth.
is? I think this is already most likely a simulation. So yeah,
So
this
we're already
is one of
living
the games.
virtually.
Yeah,
That's
we're
what you're saying.
already
Right.
living virtually. This is already the not real world.
Right.
I'm saying, what was the one from GW Orton then?
Let's see. You want me to read it for you?
Yeah, sure.
So his question is, at harvest time, I filled a few large Ziplocs with fresh flowers, anticipating that I would make some killer bubble hash over the winter with it. Now a few months have passed, and I've done a couple runs through my washer with the fresh frozen buds with very disappointing results. I was getting about 10% yield on my dried flowers and less than 1% on the fresh frozen, and it was considerably more frothy in buckets. Is there maybe something I'm doing wrong, or is there maybe a better method of processing the rest of what's in my freezer, such as making pico or something else?
Right, Billy, this is definitely for you, man. You want to take this away?
Yeah.
To be honest, I'm not sure. Really, it's quite a hard one because the fresh frozen is quite an awkward thing to do. I don't really do it because of the yield.
Because
be a
it
bit
yields
shit.
lower or what?
Are those
Yeah.
But
yields
doesn't
like,
it
to be
it equals
expected?
out though?
Sorry.
Margaret, you want to go first?
No, I was just curious because Billy, you were saying the yields were pretty low. Are the yields that this person is talking about, is that sort of like the norm for what he's doing?
It can be, yeah. You can do anything with like that can be like from 10 to 25% sort of like return. So, but you can, it completely depends. It's
Right.
awkward to say without knowing his exact technique and all that. So it's best off just putting his stuff on purses or everything he's done and with it, and then go from there. But it could be that plant as well just doesn't wash well. Some are just like that.
But
They just
But
Go
there's
on.
a big difference between the yields, right? Okay, 10% dried, 1% fresh. Well, there's a big discrepancy between the two because you
yeah, he
might be
must have done
using
something wrong. Yeah,
well,
Mhm.
no, what I'm getting at is that your fresh frozen is going to say it's 5 pounds of fresh frozen that you're doing, right? But if you were to dry that out and it be 5 ounces and you're getting 10%, the number's the same. You know what I mean?
the problem with
Does
the
that make
fresh
sense?
frozen is it doesn't break up as much, so that all the trichomes from inside the buds don't escape
Right.
as much, and that's where you get the. That's why you need the agitation more with the
Right,
fresh
right.
frozen. If you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
You're only getting the
Mhm.
trichomes break off the surface. Yeah.
Yeah,
Outside, yeah.
yeah. You need the inner trichomes, which is where the dry buds break up a lot easier and then release their
Hmm.
goodness.
Mm-hmm,
So yeah, it's awkward.
Yeah, I'm not a good one on that one either.
No,
And I
I'm
don't
not an
know.
expert myself, so
Can you make Fico from fresh frozen? I
I
mean,
suppose so. Well,
I've never
Fico
tried
is
that.
just using that for essentially for
yeah,
Fico.
you just got to have enough alcohol for the plant matter you're
Yeah.
using to soak it to get the
I would. hmm.
And then it should
if you know what I mean.
dissolve in it. Yeah.
Yeah,
The trichomes are going to dissolve into the solvent, which
yeah,
is either that
I
alcohol
would.
or the naphtha, depending on what you're making.
Yeah.
I mean, I
basically.
would think that, but like, wouldn't it being fresh like that have so much moisture in it that it would ruin it, kind of? Like adding water to alcohol and oil, like that doesn't mix.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're better having it dried because you don't want
Yeah.
too much moisture, obviously, with the alcohol. But then that evaporates anyway within the process, the water, excess water. So
You know. Interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
difficult process, fresh frozen.
Yeah.
That's right, and it takes practice. So many things need to be taken into consideration as well. You know, like you said, like the strain it is, and just so many things, man. So many things. Billy the Kid says amateur at work. It's like, yes, that's right. We are all amateurs here, bro.
Yeah.
All amateurs at work.
I've done
yeah.
fresh
Yes.
frozen one time, and it turned out okay, you know, but I don't think we had that low of a yield. I bet I want to say ours was closer to 5%.
Would you get less plant matter going through it as well, because it's frozen?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So that's going to reduce the yield as well. It's like maybe you're getting more of a
Yeah,
yield with
you're getting
the
so many
drier
things which are
buds.
yield reducing that
Mhm.
doesn't. It's sort of hard.
So is it yield reducing, but the concentration of the actual trichomes is higher?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that to be taken into consideration as well. It's a good question, man. I think you should drop a thread over on Percy's, because there's more people over there who do this sort of thing that can give more details and let us know about you know, the techniques you're using and things like that as well. The more info you can give to us, the better. We can get a good answer on the question then. Yeah, so much needs to be taken into consideration, but still, well done for making your own hash, man. That's very cool, bro. Very
Right.
cool. You know,
Mhm.
and
Try
you
at
know,
least
it's
once, right?
yeah, for sure. And maybe this is just tip leaf and shit is using as well, so maybe it's going to be thrown away anyway. In which case, it's hundreds of percents more than what you would have been getting, bro. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, well done on that. Everybody should be making their own hash. You know what I mean? Very cool. Yeah. Is there anything? I think that's all the listener mail questions there. Then I think that's all the stuff to say about hydro. Is there anything else to add here?
I don't think so.
Living soil.
Yeah. There we go. Thanks for your input, Billy. Could have just
yeah.
got a fucking sound loop for you this episode, you know? Yeah, man. Good show. Should we go to the outro?
Yeah.
Yes,
Let's
sir.
do it. Let's go. I pressed the wrong button. Sorry, everybody. Fuck.
We're so professional up until right now.
Yeah, oops. Oops.
Well,
That was
guess you're
definitely
forgetting.
Margaret's fault. Definitely Margaret's
Uh-huh.
fault. Gosh.
Lucky you're not in control of the nuclear
Gosh.
buttons, isn't it? Hey.
Yeah.
Is it
You'll be
lucky?
I
dead right
absolve
now.
myself of
Is
any
it lucky?
responsibility you're trying to put on me right now, so that's okay.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm trying to resolve it too. Somebody's got to have it, you know? Yeah, good show. I think we got everything answered there, but well, I say everything. There's always more questions, you know, we can never answer everything fully. But if anybody is unsure of anything, you know what to do. Just head over to percysgrowroom.com, get signed up. It's all free, and ask questions, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll find answers over
Always
there
be
all the
asking
time.
questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Then
Beautiful.
put your products against mine and we see. Billy the Kid, why are you being like this, bro? You're usually very nice in chat. You're a little bit angry today. Calm down, Billy. Calm down. Not you, Billy, the other Billy. You know? Yeah, man.
Oh my goodness.
Proper professional as always. Thanks, Mad Dog. And thanks to everybody out there in chat for coming to join us as well. We appreciate you guys, man. I hope you enjoyed the show here. Yes.
It was a good one.
And we just hope everything's covered there, you know, as much info as you need at least. I don't think we'll encourage anybody to go hydro, but I think those days are kind of done, you know. That was done back in the day when it was more difficult to source things, you know, and it was, I don't know, it just seems much easier to just go living soil route now, because it's easier to get hold of the things you need. And that's the best way to go. I mean, it's going to take a little bit longer. You get a slightly smaller yield, but it's nothing major. Should definitely give it a shot. Yeah. Well, I mean, the living soil.
One day I'm
do
gonna
hydro
do it.
if you want, you know.
But if I get bugs, I swear to God, I'll never.
You
do
know
it
what I'm
again.
saying? Fuck, you know. Yeah, good show. Anything to add then? I think that's about it. We can just wrap it up from here.
No, I think I got a halftime show to catch soon.
Oh yeah, let's get out of here, everybody. So we
It's
go
still
see.
kicking off here. They're standing.
I know,
on the
I got a
field. I
while,
think they're
but-
going to do the coin flip here in a second.
Yeah.
I do need to eat, but yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Let's get out of here. Let's go watch the Super Bowl. Maybe a game over on the Discord shortly. Yeah.
I got to head to town.
Yes. Are you going to
I've
town?
been
If you
running
know
all
what
day.
Okay. Let's get out of here then, everybody. Again, thanks to all of you for joining us. If you have any questions, you know where to find us by now. I hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you have a good week, and hope to catch you again on Sunday next week. And we'll talk about some cocoa coir next week and how to grow in cocoa. 'Cause that's such a special medium. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, stay high, stay safe, and all that. Enjoy the game if you're going to watch it. And we'll catch you over on Discord to play some Letter League. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.